Chapter 1. Daxia, Zhongcheng. It was June, and the summer was scorching. Outside the window, the sound of cicadas chirped one after another, and the discussion in the classroom was in full swing. Time flies so fast. 20 days have passed in the blink of an eye, and I have only just reached level 9. I guess I will not be able to enter a key university. Just be content. Don't forget that there are still people in our class who are stuck on the Awakening mission. SHH. Student Lu is already in a bad situation, at least give him some face. Sitting in his seat, Lu Xingchi turned a deaf ear and lowered his head, silently fiddling with the Rubik's Cube in his hand. As a pitiful guy in the eyes of his classmates, he seems a little heartless. This is a new era of dataization, where copies and secret realms have become the main theme of the world. Opportunities and crises coexist. Alien demons are rampant, attempting to destroy the human race and become the new overlord. Today's seemingly stable life is built with the blood of countless human martyrs. Everyone will undergo an awakening ceremony in their senior year and become a glorious professional. There are also distinctions among professions, mainly divided into combat professions and life professions. Only when you are unable to awaken a combat profession will you consider a life profession. In short, everyone will become a professional and contribute to resisting alien invasions. 20 days ago, at the awakening ceremony, Lu Xingchi became a combat professional. However, his awakening mission is very strange, different from the general killing monsters or collecting materials. His awakening mission is to restore the Rubik's Cube. This 5th order Rubik's Cube is a mission item, and it will be bound to its soul after the awakening ceremony is completed. The task prompts him to shorten the cube recovery time as much as possible. The shorter the time, the stronger the awakened profession will be. To date, Lu Xingchi has practiced the Rubik's Cube for 20 consecutive days, and 3 days ago he tied the world record. Of course, this record refers to the record for non-professionals. Lu Xingchi, who has not awakened, is no different from an ordinary person. But he is still not satisfied, his goal is to break the world record. Da-da-da. There was a sound of crisp footsteps in the corridor, and the noisy classroom suddenly became quiet. A beautiful figure passed by the window and walked straight in through the door. She is the head teacher of Class 9, Chen Yao. As soon as she entered the classroom, she tore off a page from the countdown calendar next to the blackboard. Countdown to the National Joint Examination, 10 days. There are only 10 days left until the National Joint Entrance Examination, so students need to hurry up. I know everyone is tired, but I want to say that persistence is victory. In the future, you will thank yourself for working so hard now. Teacher Chen spoke inspiring words as he did every day. These words only had some effect in the early stages, but now the students have become immune to them. Seeing that the students' reactions were mediocre, Chen Yao continued, everyone should learn from Wang Tianyu. He is currently the highest ranked person in the school and has reached level 14. As soon as these words were spoken, the originally quiet classroom suddenly became lively. At the awakening ceremony, Wang Tianyu became the rare mage profession Wind Spirit Walker. With his huge attack range and exaggerated ability to gather monsters, he became the fastest leveling person in the school. Before the awakening ceremony, Wang Tianyu was just an unknown person, but now he has become a popular figure in the school. Almost everyone's eyes were focused on Wang Tianyu, who also showed an undisguised smile. Inadvertently, Wang Tianyu turned his head and glanced at Lu Xingchi not far away. After realizing that Lu Xingchi was still fiddling with the Rubik's Cube and paying no attention to him at all, he turned away with an unhappy expression. Without further delay, everyone should head to the school dungeon hall as soon as possible. The teacher on duty must have arrived. After being inspired by Wang Tianyu, everyone became much more positive. After a while, the crowded classroom became empty, with only a few people who had not left. Brother Lu, haven't you completed your awakening mission yet? The person who spoke was Lu Xingchi's desk mate Lu Feng, one of the few people who truly cared about him. Almost there. Lu Xingchi stopped fiddling with the Rubik's Cube and smiled at the person next to him. It's good that it's coming soon. I'm level 11 now. It's not that high, but I should have no problem taking you with me. Lu Feng rolled up his sleeves and showed off his fairly strong muscles. The profession he awakened was the warrior, one of the 8 basic professions. As his level increased, his strength also increased greatly. More than half a month ago, he was still a thin teenager, which shows that the awakened profession will have a certain impact on him. But if you take me with you, your upgrade progress will be slowed down. Liu Xingchi did not agree immediately and asked back. We are friends, if you don't agree, then you don't consider me a brother. Lu Feng pretended to be furious and patted Liu Xingchi's shoulder heavily. Not only did they sit at the same table for 3 years, they were also brothers who shared upper and lower bunks in the same dormitory. There is no need to explain their friendship. Okay, then I'll leave it to you then. Liu Xingchi nodded. That's right. Lu Feng nodded with satisfaction, then stood up and said, don't make me wait too long. After Lu Feng left, the head teacher who had not left came over. Student Liu, are you really not considering changing your job to a living profession? This is not the first time that teacher Chen Yao has come to persuade Liu Xingchi. He has been making suggestions since the 10th day. There is only 1/3 left until the joint entrance examination. Even if the awakening mission is completed, it is probably too late. One step late, all steps late. Mr. Chen, thank you for your kindness, but I would like to try again. As usual, Liu Xingchi calmly shook his head and rejected the suggestion. In fact, there is nothing wrong with a living profession. With your talent and ability, whether you become a pharmacist or a blacksmith, your future prospects will not be bad. Chen Yao still did not give up and kept giving advice earnestly. This is only because he is facing Liu Xingchi. If it were someone else, he would not have bothered so much. Throughout the 3 years of high school, Liu Xingchi's performance has always been outstanding, and his academic and sports scores have always ranked first. Therefore, he is highly valued by the school. Even though he has not completed the awakening task for such a long time, the school still has not given up on him. Life professions are different from combat professions. As long as you have enough brains and spend more resources on training, your future achievements will definitely not be bad. All right. Liu Xingchi was silent for a while, then continued, if I don't complete the awakening mission today, I will switch to a life profession. It's a deal, you can't go back on your word. Chen Yao finally breathed a sigh of relief and left the classroom with a relieved smile. He was finally the only one left in the classroom, and there was no other sound except the chirping of cicadas. Finally, it's quiet. Liu Xingchi let out a long sigh and took out the Rubik's Cube from under the table. The reason why he agreed so readily was that he was confident that he could break the Rubik's Cube record and complete the awakening mission today. Click, click, click. The Rubik's Cube changed rapidly in Liu Xingchi's hands, so fast that only a series of after-images could be seen. Liu Xingchi completely entered a flow state, as if everything in the outside world had nothing to do with him. Perhaps due to the tremendous pressure, Liu Xingchi was more focused than ever before. Time passed by minute, and he could no longer remember how many hundred times he had tried to restore the Rubik's Cube. This time the Rubik's Cube was solved in 29.83 seconds. You have broken the world record and won the highest reward. Do you want to submit the current results and complete the awakening task? Chapter 2. Yes. Looking at the light screen that popped up in front of him, Liu Xingchi clicked to confirm without any hesitation. This is already the highest level of reward, there is no point in trying any harder. You have submitted the awakening mission and successfully awakened a new profession, Mechanical Commander, only one. The mission cube has been upgraded to the main weapon cube without principle, and has been soulbound with you. The hidden special effects have been activated, the efforts of these days have finally paid off. Liu Xingchi suppressed his joy and quickly digested the information in front of him. The so-called brand new profession means that no one in history has awakened this profession except Liu Xingchi. The only profession means that Liu Xingchi is the only one who has awakened this profession, and the same profession will not appear in the future. It can be said that there is no precedent and no successor. Liu Xingchi immediately checked his personal attribute panel. Name, Liu Xingchi. Occupation, Mechanical Commander, only 1, level, 1 strength, 10 intelligence, 10 agility, 10 constitution, 10 main weapon, cube of no principle, bound, professional talent, quantum link passive skills, mechanical factory, perpetual motion engine active skills, precision shooting, normal attack, stalker quantum link. The Mechanical Commander is connected to all mechanical creations, and the damage taken is evenly distributed to all mechanical creations. Perpetual motion engine, mastery. All mechanical creations have unlimited energy and are not subject to summoning time limits. Mechanical factory, level 1 store and repair mechanical artifacts, current storage limit, 0/1, hunter, level 1 summons a grey iron level mechanical hound. After a quick glance, Liu Xingchi roughly understood the career positioning of the Mechanical Commander. The Mechanical Commander should be a branch of summoners, one of the 8 basic professions, and mainly relies on mechanical creations to fight. But unlike traditional summoners, the mechanical commander himself also possesses considerable combat power. Regardless of the strength of active and passive skills, the professional talent alone is terrifying. This talent may seem ordinary, but if you look closely you will realize how terrifying it is. A mechanical creature can share half of the damage. 9 mechanical creations would share 9/10 of the damage, and so on. If there are hundreds, thousands, or even millions of mechanical creatures, you can imagine how many times the damage will be diluted. In other words, as long as there are enough mechanical creatures, the mechanical commander will almost never die. When seeing this, Xingchi was happy, but it was still within control. But when he opened the equipment bar and checked the introduction of the Rubik's Cube, he was stunned. Main weapon, cube of no principle, bound, quality. Level 1 theoretical deduction, effect. The mysterious mechanical Rubik's Cube can be combined and transformed at will. Theoretically, all mechanical weapons can be deduced, and the weapon attributes and effects are perfectly reproduced. Hidden special effect, unique. All skill effects are amplified. Amplification multiple equals weapon level times 100%, hiss. Xingchi couldn't help but take a breath. The introduction to the cube of no matrix is really scary, with undefinable qualities and indescribable hidden special effects. All of them show its extraordinariness. The so-called no rules means to ignore all rules. The no rules Rubik's Cube is an existence that transcends the material world. If a level 10 weapon is deduced and replicated, then all skills will be amplified 10 times. The so-called comprehensive amplification is different from the attack amplification. All effects will be amplified. For example, for the passive skill Mechanical Factory, a 10-fold increase can increase the storage limit and repair speed 10-fold. However, this is just the beginning. You must know that the weapon level is exactly the same as the personal level, and the maximum cap is level 100. The only flaw is that it is forcibly bound to the main weapon slot, which means that Xingchi cannot wear other weapons. But this doesn't matter to Xingchi. After all, with the rules-free cube, even weapons of mythical quality would not be of interest to him. Xingchi suppressed his inner throbbing and immediately opened the online trading house, and casually bought a level 5 white weapon, the rusty revolver. Weapons from level 1 to 10 are the lowest level weapons, and only have one quality, ordinary white equipment. Xingchi started to disassemble the rusty revolver he had just obtained. With his strong memory and deductive ability, he quickly figured out the internal mechanical structure. It should be about the same. Xingchi casually summoned the Rubik's Cube, a floating Rubik's Cube with a peculiar shape. The appearance of the Rubik's Cube without a matrix is basically the same as that of a regular Rubik's Cube, the only difference is that it has no color. It looks like a square piece of transparent crystal, emitting a faint fluorescence. As Xingchi's heart trembled, the Rubik's Cube began to move like a living thing, splitting into small cubes and changing rapidly. The Rubik's Cube without matrix appears to be a whole piece, with no gaps between the square modules. In fact, they are all suspended and are composed of hundreds of square modules. After playing with it for a while, Xingchi officially began to deduce the rusty revolver. As a low-level white weapon, the rusty revolver has a very simple mechanical structure and engraved runes. The transformation of the Rubik's Cube does not require manual operation. It will automatically transform according to the thoughts in Xingchi's mind. With the previous experience of restoring the Rubik's Cube, this was not a difficult task for him. He even felt that this was easier than restoring the Rubik's Cube. After all, there was no need to consider the uniformity of the color blocks. Rather than playing with a Rubik's Cube, Xingchi felt like he was playing with Lego, building blocks. It's just that it's impossible to completely separate the cubes of the Rubik's Cube, which makes the process a little more complicated. In about 20 seconds, Xingchi completed the deduction and reproduction of the rusty revolver. When the restoration is completely completed, the color and material of the Rubik's Cube will also change accordingly. He could even smell the rust coming from the revolver in his hand, and the rough feel was extremely real. Xingchi opened the weapon information panel again, main weapon, rusty revolver, magic cube without matrix, quality, white type, rune pistol attributes, strength plus 30, intelligence plus 30, agility plus 30, constitution plus 30 level 5 effect, none hidden special effect, unique all skill effects are amplified 5 times, amplification factor equals weapon level times 100%, under normal circumstances, a level 1 professional cannot use a level 5 weapon. With its powerful spatial deduction ability, the disadvantage of the Rubik's Cube's forced binding has become an advantage in wearing weapons across levels. As a branch profession of the summoner, the mechanical commander pays attention to equal treatment in terms of both its own attribute growth and weapon bonuses. After all, summoned creatures are mostly strange and varied, different summoned creatures have different specialties, and the required attributes are also completely different. Chapter 3. Hey, it's really a 100% replica. Xingchi smiled and touched his chin, then carefully observed the rusty revolver in his hand. Because the number of modules of the Rubik's Cube is too small, the rusty revolver looks a bit rough. At first glance, it looks like holding a toy gun, which is not at all exquisite. However, he knew very well that this toy revolver was strictly deduced according to the mechanical structure. Apart from some differences in appearance, there is no difference in power from the original weapon. This is just a replica of a low-level weapon at level 5. Once a high-level weapon is replicated, it will probably be even more difficult. In order to conduct experiments, Xingchi purchased a level 10 white refined revolver and tried to deduce and replicate it. However, after about 30 seconds, before the replication was completed, the Rubik's Cube was forcibly initialized. As expected. Xingchi nodded thoughtfully. This was what he expected. The deduction of the Rubik's Cube has a time limit, and it will be forcibly initialized once the time limit is exceeded. As his level increases, his intelligence attribute will gradually improve, allowing him to replicate more advanced weapons. It is estimated that by that time, the Rubik's Cube will also be able to be divided into more tiny modules. One day, we will be able to create exquisite weapons that cannot be distinguished from the fake by the naked eye. If we deduce a level 5 weapon, then the skill effect will be multiplied by 5. While talking to himself, Xingchi once again opened his skill panel. The originally pitiful storage capacity of the machinery factory has now increased to 5. Even the power of normal attacks was increased by 5 times, and he couldn't wait to try using active skills for the first time. Summon the Hunter. A space-time crack appeared beside Xingchi, and countless mysterious codes were constantly swimming in the void. Then a half-human-height mechanical hound jumped out, making a mechanical creaking sound as it moved. The moment the skill was activated, his spirit value dropped significantly. The grey iron-grade mechanical hound does not look much different from a real hound. The whole body has a greyish-white metallic texture and a streamlined shape, giving people a feeling of hardness and coldness. Under the sunlight, it reflects a faint metallic luster, especially the sharp steel canine teeth that emit a terrifying cold light. Xingchi immediately used the common professional skill Eye of Truth to scan the data of the mechanical hound in front of him. Hunter level, 1 strength, 200 intelligence, 200 agility, 400 constitution, 200 skills, claw attack, bloodthirsty bite. People are worse than dogs. Xingchi looked at the data of the mechanical hound and couldn't help but cover his face and sigh. The properties of mechanical creations are closely related to their masters, and the characteristic of a hunter is agility. The agility attribute can greatly increase attack speed and movement speed. Due to the hidden special effects of the Cube of Infinity, the overall attributes of the mechanical hound are greatly improved. This leads to the embarrassing situation where the attributes of the mechanical creation are much higher than those of its master. With the current attributes of the mechanical hound, it can easily crush level 5 monsters. However, this is just the beginning. As the level of the Rubik's Cube increases, the properties of the mechanical creations will become more and more exaggerated. He was just joking about this to himself. After all, it was his own mechanical creation, so the stronger it was, the better. Let's fill up the machine factory first. Xingchi first bought some mental recovery potions, and then immediately began to summon hunters continuously. The current summon limit is 5. Once the limit is reached, the skill icon will turn dim and cannot be used again. After a while, 5 mechanical hounds stood in a row like well-trained guards. With a thought, a circular precision machine appeared under Xingchi's feet, with a vortex of data inside. All 5 mechanical hounds jumped into the vortex and disappeared in an instant. All mechanical creations stored in the mechanical factory do not require consuming mental energy to summon them again. After everything was ready, Xingchi walked quickly towards the copy hall. There are only 10 days left before the provincial joint examination, and Xingchi must seize every minute and every second. The dungeon hall was packed with people. A standard 5-man team emerged from the dungeon, led by none other than the popular Wang Tianyu. Someone in the team gave a thumbs up and praised, "Brother Wang, you are so awesome, you almost broke our school's dungeon record. It's just a school record. I just didn't perform well. Wang Tianyu was obviously very pleased with the praise from others and looked intoxicated. Of course. Brother Wang is a genius who is going to get into a top school. A mere school record is not worth mentioning. The other person nodded in agreement, with a flattering smile on his face. Thanks to Wang Tianyu's support, they have entered the top tier in the school. I wonder how that guy who was always holding back our class is doing now. Wang Tianyu smiled coldly, as if he was thinking of something happy. Why do you care about him? He can't even complete the awakening mission. He is destined to be from a different world from you in the future. That's true. I heard that he has agreed to switch to a living profession with Teacher Chen. I guess I won't have the chance to see him again in the future. Wang Tianyu nodded. While they were talking, Lu Xingchi stepped into the dungeon hall. I don't know who shouted first, but it immediately attracted the attention of everyone in the dungeon hall. Everyone looked as if they had seen a ghost and gathered around curiously. What's going on? Isn't he planning to switch to a living profession? Yes, why are you coming to the dungeon hall instead of going to the living hall? Could it be that he has completed the awakening mission and is here to play the dungeon? Before the awakening ceremony, Lu Xingchi had always been a prominent figure in the school and had considerable fame. After the awakening incident, Lu Xingchi's fame increased instead of decreased, and almost every student in the school knew him. Make way. Lu Xingchi ignored the onlookers and walked quickly towards the copy crystal. When passing by Wang Tianyu's team, perhaps under the pressure of the powerful momentum, he made way for them as if possessed by a magic power. When Wang Tianyu realized what was happening, his face turned pale. Damn it, I'm still afraid of what he will do. Things are not the same as before. Wang Tianyu strode forward and stopped in front of the primary copy crystal in advance. What do you mean? Lu Xingchi suppressed his anger and asked. Wang Tianyu crossed his arms and said calmly, Student Lu just got here and may not know the rules yet. You have to queue up in the dungeon hall. I don't have time to waste with you, get out of the way. Lu Xingchi raised his eyes, exuding a hint of coldness. The primary copy crystals correspond to professional levels from 1 to 5, and currently everyone in the school has already exceeded level 5. Therefore, currently no one is using the primary copy crystals, let alone queuing. Chapter 4. Don't go too far. Just as Lu Xingchi was about to take action, a person squeezed out from the crowd. It was Lu Xingchi's good friend Lu Feng, who stood directly in front of Lu Xingchi. He knew that Lu Xingchi had just completed his awakening and was only at level 1, so he was definitely no match for Wang Tianyu. When is it your turn to speak here? After Wang Tianyu saw who was coming, the corner of his mouth twisted with disdain. He just gave a look to the people beside him, and the four of them walked towards Lu Feng aggressively. Although it was obvious that Lu Feng was very scared, he still had no intention of backing down. I'll say this one last time, get out of here. Lu Xingchi slowly raised his hand, and spiritual light gathered in his hand. A rusty revolver derived from the magic cube appeared in his hand, with the muzzle pointed at Wang Tianyu's forehead. Due to his powerful aura and the prestige he had accumulated over a long period of time, Wang Tianyu subconsciously took a half step back. However, after seeing clearly what he held in his hand, Wang Tianyu's shock turned to anger, and then from anger to joy. Finally, I couldn't help but burst into laughter. Ha ha ha! Do you think I'm blind? You think you can scare me with a toy gun? Everyone didn't react at first, but after being reminded, they focused on the weapon in Lu Xingchi's hand. A rusty toy revolver that doesn't look threatening at all. Did Mr. Lu get upset? Why did he use a toy gun as a weapon? Isn't it because of too much pressure that he went crazy? It's not impossible. After all, he was a genius student before. The psychological gap is too big all of a sudden, so... Oh, how pitiful. The onlookers were also talking about it, and their eyes were full of sympathy towards Lu Xingchi. Lu Xingchi didn't explain anything, raised the muzzle of the gun an inch, and then pulled the trigger. Bang! The toy gun spit out a long tongue of fire, which quickly passed by Wang Tianyu's scalp. The hot bullet left a red trajectory in the air and actually cut off most of Wang Tianyu's hair, revealing a bald head. The loud gunshots continued to echo in the dungeon hall, instantly turning the noisy crowd into silence. Everyone stared at the toy gun in Lu Xingchi's hand in disbelief, their eyeballs almost falling to the ground. It's not that they haven't seen the power of a first-level rune pistol, but it's far less powerful than the toy pistol in Lu Xingchi's hand. Little did he know that the rune revolver in Liu Xingchi's hand was not only a level 5 weapon, but its normal attack was also amplified 5-fold. Wang Tianyu's eyes widened as a breeze blew past him, and he felt a chill on his head. I subconsciously reached out to the top of my head and realized that I had been forced to shave my head into a Mediterranean hairstyle. Puff! Someone couldn't help but chuckle, which immediately caused everyone to burst into laughter. Wang Tianyu wished he could find a crack in the ground to crawl into. He covered his bald head that could not be covered with one hand, and pointed at Liu Xingchi in frustration. What are you still standing there for? Come on! Stop it all! Before the four could take action, a powerful voice was heard. The loud gunshot just now alarmed the teacher on duty, who stepped forward in time to stop the farce. The person on duty today is Li Jun, who is the head teacher of Class 7. Liu Xingchi and Wang Tianyu are not his students. Teacher Li, you must make the decision for me. Look at what this guy has done. Wang Tianyu seemed to have suffered a great injustice and pointed at his bald head. The scene was very funny. He is the villain who is complaining first. It was clearly them who started the trouble first. We were just fighting back in self-defense. Lu Feng quickly defended himself. Okay. I was in the monitoring room the whole time. I know what happened better than you. Li Jun waved his hand, ignoring the quarreling two people, and instead stared at Liu Xingchi with great interest. Student Liu, what is your awakened profession? Mechanical Commander. There was no need to hide anything, Liu Xingchi told the truth. Mechanical Commander. Li Jun stroked his chin thoughtfully. I know the rare profession Mechanical Summoner, but Mechanical Commander is a brand new profession that I have never heard of. Hearing this, everyone looked at Liu Xingchi with envy. That is a unique profession in the world. Who wouldn't want to have it? And it is easy to guess that the Mechanical Commander is much more powerful than the Mechanical Summoner. Tisk. What's so great about that? A new profession doesn't necessarily mean it's stronger. Wang Tianyu muttered sourly. Teacher Li is experienced. He pulled Liu Xingchi aside and asked, Student Liu, do you have any natural talents as a Mechanical Commander? Yes, there is a weapon attached to it. As he spoke, the toy pistol in Liu Xingchi's hand started to spin quickly and returned to its original state. Looking at the Rubik's Cube floating in his palm, even the knowledgeable Li Jun was confused. He had never seen a situation where an awakened profession was given a weapon or forcibly bound to it. However, he had also heard that some powerful legendary professions would come with their own weapons when they awakened, but most of them would not be forcibly bound. The so-called legendary professions, each of which has the potential to become a god, are much stronger than rare professions. That's unusual. I'll report this as soon as possible. You should hurry up and upgrade. Li Jun suppressed his shock and glanced at Wang Tianyu and the others. You don't need to enter the dungeon today. Hand over your school badges. The school badge is not only a symbol of identity, it is also the only certificate to enter the school copy crystal. Once confiscated, it means that you will not be able to enter all copies in the school. Why? Wang Tianyu covered the school badge tightly, his eyes full of dissatisfaction. I was clearly the victim, as most of my hair was burnt. Besides, as the best performer in the school and a future rising star, shouldn't he enjoy privileges? Humph! If you don't agree, I will deal with you according to the school rules. Li Jun snorted coldly, faintly emitting a powerful aura. Although he is only a basic professional, his level has reached over 40. With such a huge level gap, the few young students were simply unable to resist. This was the result of his leniency. If it wasn't for teacher Chen Yao's sake, he would have had sufficient reason to confiscate the school badge for 3 days. In an instant, the few people who had been so aggressive just now were so scared that they lowered their heads and dared not speak. If they are dealt with according to school rules, they will be banned from entering the dungeon hall for 3 days. Although it was only 3 short days, it was an irreparable loss for the joint examination candidates. After all, every level up has the potential to leave behind thousands of competitors. Although they were reluctant, Wang Tianyu and others took off the school badges on their chests and handed them to teacher Li Jun. Fortunately, half of the day has passed, so a half-day ban will not have much impact. After taking the school badges from several people, Li Jun greeted Liu Xingchi and then hurried towards the principal's office. Chapter 5. A good dog doesn't block the road, get out of the way. As soon as the teacher on duty left, Lu Feng forcefully pushed a few people away and pulled Liu Xingchi to the crystal of the primary copy. Instead of rushing to touch the copy crystal, he sent a team invitation to Liu Xingchi first. Liu Xingchi touched his nose and muttered softly, "Actually, we have already agreed on this before. You can't go back on your word." Lu Feng forcibly interrupted Liu Xingchi's words and stared at him with a burning gaze. "All right." Actually, Liu Xingchi wanted to say that he could do it alone, but in order not to hurt his brother's feelings, he still accepted the invitation to form a team. Current team size 2/5, experience points reduced by 10%. Liu Xingchi opened the team formation interface and found that a team of 2 could gain 90% of the experience points. Even if a team of 5 people is formed, they can still gain 60% experience points. The efficiency improvement brought by teaming up is far more than doubled, and it is also safer. Therefore, most people will choose to form a team of 5 to maximize the efficiency of upgrading. As the team leader, Lu Feng placed his hand on the copy crystal. A copy information screen appeared in front of both of them at the same time. Instance, Trial Forest Level Recommendation, 1-5 Instance Difficulty, Normal Level. The crystal emitted a magnificent light and turned into a vortex that drew the two of them in. Liu Xingchi only felt a flash before his eyes, and when his vision returned, the scene in front of him changed. This is a vast forest, surrounded by towering trees that block out the sun. The roar of monsters could be faintly heard coming from afar, but there was no monster to be seen within the field of vision. As the lowest level dungeon, the purpose of the trial forest is to allow novice professionals to become familiar with the wilderness and master basic combat skills. Therefore, the density of monsters is not high and the danger is very low, so there is almost no risk of death. "Brother Liu, just follow me and leave the monster hunting to me." Lu Feng raised his hand and summoned his weapon, a fairly good giant sword. As a level 10 white weapon, the refined great sword looks much better than the rusty revolver. At least there was no rust on the surface of the sword, and the blade looked quite sharp. Lu Feng carried a huge sword and walked towards the depths of the dense forest with a swagger, his eyes constantly scanning the surrounding environment. "Thanks a lot." Liu Xingchi smiled slightly and released the 5 mechanical hounds from the mechanical factory. The mechanical hounds quickly dispersed in all directions, each searching for monsters. The mechanical hounds, with an agility of up to 400, moved at an astonishing speed, transforming into black shadows and disappearing into the dense forest in an instant. "What's that sound?" Lu Feng's ears moved slightly and he turned around suddenly. But by the time he noticed, the 5 mechanical hounds had disappeared without a trace. "Nothing, I just released the mechanical creature to explore the way." Liu Xingchi waved his hand and explained. "This is too risky. If you encounter a higher level monster, a level 1 summon won't be able to withstand it. It's better to keep it by your side to protect you." It's no wonder that Lu Feng is so cautious, he doesn't know the true combat power of the mechanical hound. Liu Xingchi smiled and said, "It doesn't matter, I still have you to protect me." "That's true. It's just a trial copy. There's no need to be so careful." Lu Feng scratched his head. Right at this moment, a wild boar suddenly jumped out from the bushes not far away and rushed straight towards Lu Feng. The wild boar has red eyes, extremely sharp fangs, and its hair is like steel needles. Liu Xingchi immediately opened the Eye of Truth and scanned the monster's information. Monster, wild boar level, 2 strength, 35 intelligence, 3 agility, 14 constitution, 36 just in time. Looking at the wild boar getting closer and closer, Lu Feng had no intention of dodging at all. He is a level 11 warrior, and it is a bit unreasonable for him to hide when facing a mere level 2 wild monster. Strike! Lu Feng jumped high, raised the giant sword above his head with both hands, and chopped it hard at the wild boar. The sharp sword blade instantly pierced through the wild boar, splitting it in two. Before the wild boar could even utter a scream, it turned into a flash of light and disappeared. Then, from the direction where the wild boar disappeared, 2 white streaks of light sank into the 2 people. Kill the wild boar and gain 12 experience points. Experience bar, 21%, kill the wild boar, get 10 gold coins and a wild boar tusk. The default mode for distributing team loot is equal distribution, and both players receive exactly the same rewards. It feels so good to kill instantly. After killing the wild boar with his own hands, Lu Feng was in a good mood. Since he became a professional, he has never experienced the thrill of killing a monster instantly. It seems not as difficult as I imagined. Liu Xingchi walked forward and murmured. "Brother, I'm a level 11 warrior, so it's easy to kill a level 2 monster." Lu Feng covered his face helplessly and walked deeper into the forest. Don't be afraid of you laughing at me. When our team first encountered a wild boar, we fought it for more than half an hour. You should have been only level 1 at that time, right? Xingchi guessed. That's right. At the beginning, everyone's level was not high, and there was not much cooperation. It was so difficult. Lu Feng nodded, and his face turned pale as he recalled the situation during the pioneering period. Thank you, it's all thanks to you. Xingchi smiled and patted Lu Feng's shoulder. Brothers, let's not talk about this. I promise to take you to level 5 before dark tonight. Lu Feng shook his head, his eyes full of fighting spirit, and he unconsciously quickened his pace. It seemed as if helping Xingchi level up was more enjoyable than leveling up himself. You plan to take me to level 5? Xingchi asked tentatively with the corners of his mouth trembling slightly. It's not that he minded losing 10% experience, but he just feels bad for delaying Lu Feng for so long. The experience points from monsters below level 5 are almost dispensable to Lu Feng, who is already level 11. Even if I grind for more than 10 days, I probably won't be able to level up. Of course not. Level 5 is not enough. I have to at least take you to level 9. Lu Feng shook his head and explained, level 9 can barely catch up with the main force. With your talent and strength, there will definitely be people at level 9 who will want to team up with you. Actually, you don't have to. It doesn't matter. With my level, I probably won't be able to get into a first-rate university anyway. A second-rate university is the limit. These few days won't matter. Lu Feng saw what Xingchi was thinking and gave him a heartless smile. He truly regards Xingchi as a good friend and hopes that he can get admitted to a top university as he wishes. Xingchi nodded thoughtfully and immediately gave orders to the mechanical creature. Kill quickly. All mechanical creations are connected to Xingchi's mind. Even if they are thousands of miles apart, they can execute commands accurately. The mechanical hound, which was originally just pulling monsters, suddenly turned around and started killing. The sharp steel claws can easily break through the flesh and blood of any monster. Flash sale. Whether it is a level 1 monster or a level 5 monster, they will all be killed instantly. Overwhelming attributes, no surprises. Kill the slime and gain 7 experience points. Kill the wild boar and gain 12 experience points. Kill the forest deer and gain 53 experience points. Kill the wood spirit and gain 70 experience points. Congratulations on your level upgrade, current level is LV2. Congratulations on your level up, current level is LV3. A series of prompt light screens appeared, and in just a few seconds, Xingchi was promoted 2 levels. Chapter 6. After upgrading, the personal attribute panel will pop up automatically. Name, Xingchi. Occupation, Mechanical Commander, only 1, level, 3 Chi and Blood, 700 Spirit, 700 Strength, 40 plus 30 Intelligence, 40 plus 30 Agility, 40 plus 30 Physique, 40 plus 30. As the level increased, Xingchi's attributes increased significantly. I have to say that Mechanical Commander is truly a balanced profession, with very even growth attribute points. As the level increases, the properties of mechanical creations also increase significantly. There is no change in the skill level though, and the character level needs to reach level 5 before there is a chance for improvement. Bang! Lu Feng looked at the experience light screens that kept popping up and was so scared that the giant sword in his hand fell. What is going on? It's nothing. My mechanical hound must have encountered a monster. Xingchi remained calm. Lu Feng looked at Xingchi with a puzzled look on his face, and his voice trembled as he spoke, "No, brother. Are you saying that you did all this?" Oh my god. How did you do that? I just saw a level 5 monster being killed. Lu Feng just couldn't understand how a mere level 1 summoned creature could kill monsters above its level. And the killing efficiency is astonishingly high. Even if there are 5 people in a team, it is probably impossible to be so efficient. Xingchi touched the tip of his nose and said vaguely, "My mechanical creation is stronger." Is this stronger? This is too strong. What kind of profession have you awakened? This is too scary. Lu Feng felt like he was beginning to doubt his life and smiled bitterly. When he thought about how he had just boasted that he would help Xingchi level up, his face turned red. Kill the grizzly bear and gain 49 experience points. Kill the wild wolf and gain 37 experience points. Kill the forest deer and gain 53 experience points. As the two were talking, the experience points on the light screen continued to jump, and the efficiency was astonishingly high. After the kill order was issued, all the mechanical hounds stopped pulling monsters and killed all the monsters they encountered. No monster can withstand the sharp claws of the mechanical hound. Even a monster with high defense cannot withstand the bite of its fangs. Xingchi and the mechanical hound are in telepathic communication, and all the places they have explored form a real-life map in his mind. Brother Lu, you just wanted to say that you can do it alone, right? Lu Feng finally came back to his senses from his shock and asked in a low voice. Yeah. Xingchi didn't deny it and nodded, but the main reason is that I don't want to delay your upgrade. It doesn't matter. I can't get into a first-rate university anyway. At most I can go to a second-rate university. It won't delay anything. Lu Feng waved his hand with a smile on his face. You can't say that. If you work hard, you might have the opportunity to enter a top university in the future. Xingchi comforted him, patting him on the shoulder. It's too difficult. To enter a first-rate school, one must at least reach level 16. There are only 10 days left, and I'm afraid it won't be enough. Lu Feng lowered his head. After breaking through level 10, the difficulty of upgrading increases greatly, and each level up is very difficult. However, the main problem is that there are limited crystals in the school dungeon, and most of the time is wasted in queues. Xingchi thought for a moment and asked, when my level catches up in a few days, I can help you level up together. Forget it, you're already under a lot of pressure, I can't hold you back any further. Lu Feng shook his head and politely declined the proposal. Although Xingchi's upgrade speed is amazing, don't forget that there are only 10 days left. If you want to get into a first-rate university, or even a top-tier university, the difficulty is incredibly high. Can I challenge higher-level copies in school? Xingchi asked. Since he had not yet completed his awakening mission, he had no time to participate in the professional lectures at school. Therefore, there is a serious lack of knowledge about the copy hall in the school, and important information is also outdated. It was possible before, but after a few fatalities, it is no longer allowed to challenge higher-level dungeons in high school. Lu Feng explained patiently. In theory, the mortality rate in the academy copy is very low. As long as you follow the steps, there is almost no risk of death. However, every year there are some self-important people who challenge higher-level dungeons, which leads to many bloody incidents. Therefore, restrictions have been added to the school's copy crystals, and players can only challenge copies that match their own levels. Is that so? That's really troublesome. Xingchi frowned, and a feeling of nervousness surged in his heart. If we follow the routine steps, we will never be able to make up for the lost 20 days. And his goal is to go to a top-level school, so even reaching level May 16 not be enough. But there is a way. We can go to the wilderness isolation area. There are abundant wild monsters and natural dungeons there, and no one is in charge. However, Lu Feng seemed to suddenly remember something, and there was some hesitation in his words. Just what? Since this concerns one's future and destiny, Xingchi hurriedly asked. I touched upon the issue of wilderness isolation zones in my high school classes, but never in depth. He only knew that the wilderness isolation zone was a special area specially marked out by Daxia, a barbaric world where the strong preyed on the weak. There is more than one such isolation zone, and the lowest level one is the first wilderness isolation zone. The monsters in the first isolation area are mostly of low level and not very dangerous, so students often go there to train. However, this low risk is relative, as countless students die in the first isolation area every year. It's just that the wilderness isolation zone is too dangerous. Many geniuses die there every year. The school stipulates that only those who have reached level 15 are eligible to enter. Lu Feng explained. Level 15. Xingchi frowned and smiled bitterly. By the time I reach level 15, I guess it will be too late. Actually, there are exceptions. For students who awaken to legendary professions, the school can issue special qualification certificates. Lu Feng hesitated for a while, but still said it. Xingchi shook his head helplessly and sighed. Legendary profession, I awakened a new profession, I'm afraid it doesn't meet the requirements. Legendary professions are extraordinary professions that have stood the test of time. It is impossible for a new profession to be defined as a legendary profession. Don't be too discouraged. With your ability, even if you are behind in level, you will definitely have no problem getting into a top-notch school. There is no need to take risks. Lu Feng saw Liu Xingqi's disappointment and comforted him with a smile. Yet, there's no point in thinking so much now, it's more important to upgrade. Liu Xingqi nodded, bent down and picked up the fallen giant's sword. That's the right thing to think of. After taking the giant's sword, Lu Feng knew that it was of no use to him, so he simply carried it on his back. The two walked side by side towards the depths of the copy, and the only exit of the copy was at the end. There was not a single monster blocking the way along the way, and all the monsters were swept away by the mechanical hounds in advance. Chapter 7. Principal's Office. Teacher Chen Yao had arrived a long time ago, ready to discuss Liu Xingqi's job transfer. However, the principal was not there, so she could only sit in the office and wait. Li Jun suddenly pushed open the half-closed door and shouted, "Principal, good news." "Teacher Li, what's so exciting?" Chen Yao looked at Li Jun quietly with a puzzled look on her face. "In my impression, Li Jun has always been a mature and steady person, and I have never seen him lose his composure like this." "Teacher Chen, Liu Xingqi from your class has finally completed the awakening mission." "What?" Chen Yao jumped up suddenly, "Are you serious?" "Of course it's true. How could I joke about such a thing?" Li Jun nodded heavily. "Very good." Chen Yao's eyes sparkled, but then dimmed again after a moment. "Teacher Chen, haven't you always been looking forward to Liu Xingqi's awakening? Now that he has finally awakened, why do you look a little unhappy?" Li Jun looked at Chen Yao with a serious expression and couldn't help asking. "If it could be brought forward 10 days, I would of course be happy, but now..." Chen Yao hesitated to speak. Li Jun also realized the problem and fell silent. Although it is a good thing that Liu Xingqi has completed his awakening, it is too late. With 2/3 less time, even a legendary profession would find it difficult to catch up. "Teacher Chen, don't be too pessimistic. Student Liu has awakened to a new profession and also obtained a specialized weapon." Li Jun comforted him softly. Chen Yao was not surprised. Based on her understanding of Liu Xingqi, he would not be surprised even if he awakened a legendary profession. Instead, she was worried about Liu Xingqi. She knew that Liu Xingqi had high aspirations and his goal was to attend a top university. "If I fail the exam due to time disadvantage, I will probably suffer a great psychological blow. Anyway, this is a good thing." Li Jun didn't know how to comfort her and scratched his head awkwardly. It's hard to say whether it's a good thing or not. If he changes his job, at least he still has a chance to enter a top-tier school instead of a third-rate one. Chen Yao shook her head and sighed. Life professions are different from combat professions, and the assessment content is only written tests and interviews. Therefore, there is no class advantage. She believes that with Liu Xingqi's ability, he will definitely be able to enter a top university as a professional. However, combat professions are another matter. The joint examination is all about actual combat, so level is crucial. As an annual national exam, the joint examination doesn't care what Liu Xingqi has experienced, they only look at the final results. "Is the principal not here?" Li Jun couldn't think of any words of comfort and could only change the subject. "The phone is turned off when I call. He must still be in a meeting." Chen Yao shook her head and said in a deep voice. "It's probably the mobilization meeting for the joint entrance exam. I'm afraid I won't be back in a short time. Why don't we go to the dungeon hall first?" Li Jun suggested. "All right." Chen Yao was also a little curious and followed Teacher Li's steps silently. "Finally I saw the exit of the dungeon. This dungeon is much bigger than I imagined." Liu Xingqi stopped in front of a whirlpool and couldn't help but sigh. There are no elite monsters or lords in the trial forest, so Liu Xingqi has a smooth journey. "Aren't we going out?" Lu Feng was a little confused. "No hurry, there are still some monsters to be cleared." Liu Xingqi randomly found a clean tree stump, wiped it and sat on it. He now only has 2% of experience left to reach level 5, and he can level up by killing a few monsters. "Brother Liu, your summons don't have a time limit." Lu Feng also sat down next to Liu Xingqi and expressed his doubts. More than half an hour had passed since they entered the trial copy, and Liu Xingqi had never been seen using summoning magic. It's not like he hasn't seen summoners before, but the summoned creatures are all limited in time. The longest one can be up to 10 minutes, while the short one can be a few minutes before needing to be summoned again. Perhaps the existence time of high-level summons is so long that it can be ignored, but most low-level ones do not exist for long. Liu Xingchi smiled and shook his head. I have a passive talent called Perpetual Motion Engine. As long as the mechanical creation does not die, it will never disappear. Oh my god! This is too powerful. If other summoners knew this, they would be furious. Lu Feng seemed to remember something funny and said happily. Kill the grizzly bear and gain 49 experience points. Congratulations on your level up, current level is LV5. You can get new skills, please check it out yourself. Every 5 levels is a node where you can acquire new skills. Liu Xingchi immediately opened the skill tree interface and found that the short trees had grown a little bigger. There are 2 more active skills on the branches, Explosive Bomb and Recall. Explosive Bomb, level 2. The Cube of Infinity has a flame rune attached to it. When the bullet hits it, it will cause a flame explosion, causing damage equal to intelligence *200%. Recall, mastery. Ignore the distance and instantly teleport any mechanical creation to the mechanical factory. It seems that my guess was correct. Looking at the skill introduction of the explosive bomb, Liu Xingchi nodded thoughtfully. The mechanical commander is not just a summoner, he also possesses impressive combat capabilities. Even if he was separated from the mechanical creation, Liu Xingchi would not be helpless. This is completely different from traditional summoners. Most summoners do not have active attack skills and rely entirely on the protection of summoned creatures and teammates. Inferno Bomb is a small range attack skill with a basic skill multiplier that is average. However, with the terrifying amplification of the Rubik's Cube, the actual multiplier reached an astonishing 1000%. This is the case when the Rubik's Cube has not been upgraded yet, otherwise it will reach 2000%. With such an exaggerated skill multiplier, even a legendary profession would probably lament the unfairness of nature. Trying to calm himself down, Liu Xingchi focused his attention on another active skill. Recall. This skill may seem ordinary, but it is actually quite important in battle. Not only can it promptly recover damaged mechanical devices and repair them and return them to the battlefield as quickly as possible, it can also save a lot of time on running away. For example, now he doesn't need to wait for the mechanical hounds to return, he can recall them all and put them all into the mechanical factory with one recall. The key is that this skill, like Perpetual Motion Engine, can be mastered at level 1, which means the maximum effect, and there is no need to use scrolls for subsequent upgrades. After checking the skills, Liu Xingchi began to try to deduce and replicate the 10th level weapon, the refined revolver. He had disassembled this weapon before, so he had not forgotten it in such a short time. As his level increased, Liu Xingchi's deductive ability also increased greatly. Sure enough, he successfully replicated the refined revolver in 30 seconds. The refined revolver looks much more refined than the rusty one, at least there is no ugly rust. But for the time being, I still can't get rid of the feeling of a toy gun. Main weapon, refined revolver, magic cube without matrix, quality, white type, rune pistol attributes, strength plus 100, intelligence plus 100, agility plus 100, constitution plus 100. Level 10 effect, none hidden special effect, unique. All skill effects are amplified by 10 times, amplification factor equals weapon level times 100%. Chapter 8. As the level of the Rubik's Cube increases, the effects of Liu Xingchi's skills also change synchronously. The maximum storage capacity of the mechanical factory has increased from 5 to 10. This is the case when the skill level of the mechanical factory has not been upgraded, otherwise the number would be even more exaggerated. Liu Xingchi reopened the online trading house and prepared to search for skill upgrade scrolls. But after seeing the price of the skill upgrade scroll, his expression turned a little ugly. The price of a first level skill upgrade scroll is as high as 10,000 gold coins. The level 10 refined revolver I bought before only cost me more than 6,000 gold coins. But he needs to upgrade more than one skill, and there will be more and more in the future. Not long ago, he had used up most of his savings on purchasing weapons, and he really couldn't come up with so much money. Brother Liu, I bought too many skill scrolls before and didn't use them all. I'll give them to you if I can keep them. Lu Feng, who was standing by, seemed to see Liu Xingchi's embarrassment and secretly bought 2 skill scrolls. This. Liu Xingchi looked solemn and did not raise his hand to take it. He knew that Lu Feng's family was not wealthy, and 20,000 gold coins was not a small amount of money for him. Brothers should not be so fussy about it. At most, I will just borrow it from you and return it to me later. Lu Feng forcefully stuffed the 2 scrolls into Liu Xingchi's hands, as if to say, if you don't want them, you're just being disrespectful. Okay, I'll give it back to you as soon as possible. Liu Xingchi took the scroll and then began to try to upgrade his skills. There are currently 2 skills that need to be upgraded, the passive skill Mechanical Factory and the active skill Hunter. The success rate of the first level skill upgrade scroll is 100%, so there is no need to worry about the risk of failure. After the 2 skill scrolls were infused with spiritual power, they slowly turned into spiritual light and dissipated. Liu Xingchi's skill tree emitted a faint light, and his 2 skills were successfully upgraded. The storage capacity of mechanical creations in Mechanical Factory, level 2, has skyrocketed from 10 to 50. The grey iron level Mechanical Hound of Hunter, level 2, was also upgraded to a black iron level Mechanical Hound. Not only did the appearance become more majestic and domineering, but its various attributes also increased dramatically. Brother Liu, aren't we going out yet? Lu Feng was a little confused. No hurry. Liu Xingchi smiled and shook his head, then took out a few bottles of mental recovery potion. As the saying goes, sharpening the knife does not delay the chopping of wood. He plans to fill up the machinery factory first. There are currently 5 hunters in the Mechanical Factory, and 45 more are needed. This is also a lot of work for Liu Xingchi and will take at least more than an hour. Wow! Is this your summon? It looks so powerful. Can I touch it? When the first Mechanical Hound was summoned, Lu Feng couldn't wait to surround it. This was the first time he saw a mechanical creature, and he was very excited for a moment. Of course, it won't bite you. Liu Xingchi nodded, and then began to summon a second Mechanical Hound. After receiving instructions, Lu Feng bravely reached out to touch the Mechanical Hound. It feels like the cool texture of heavy metal when you touch it, the surface is very smooth, and it emits a black metallic luster under the sun. The Mechanical Hound did not resist at all and allowed Lu Feng to stroke it. Seeing that the Mechanical Hound was not aggressive, Lu Feng became bolder and knocked it lightly. Clang! The moment the knuckles touched, there was a dull metallic collision sound. So hard! Lu Feng shook his hands and grimaced in pain. Driven by curiosity, Lu Feng used the universal skill Eye of Truth to scan it. Hunter level, 5 strength, 210 intelligence, 210 agility, 420 physique, 210 with an agility of over 400, the attributes of your Mechanical Hound are outrageous. It's almost catching up with me. As a warrior, Lu Feng's main attributes are strength and physique. Whether it is equipment or growth attributes, most of them increase these 2 items. Therefore, the agility attribute only reached over 300, which was far lower than that of the hunter. Hearing this, Liu Xingchi was also stunned, and was so scared that he quickly scanned the properties of the Mechanical Hound. Hunter level, 5 strength, 2100 intelligence, 2100 agility, 4200 physique, 2100 skills, claw attack, bloodthirsty bite few. I'm scared to death. Only after seeing that there was no problem with the Mechanical Hound's properties did Liu Xingchi secretly breathe a sigh of relief. It seems that the hidden special effects of the Rubik's Cube are not just talk, and he is the only one who can see the real data. So in the eyes of others, although Liu Xingchi's mechanical creations are quite powerful, they are still within an acceptable range. If others saw the real data, they would probably be scared to tears. Perhaps because waiting was too boring, Lu Feng had a new idea. Brother, your Mechanical Hound looks pretty tough. Can I try to chop it a few times? Let's not do that. Liu Xingchi frowned slightly and shook his head. Don't be so stingy. I will hold back and definitely won't damage it. Lu Feng thought that Liu Xingchi felt sorry for his mechanical creation, so he made the assurance with a serious face. Little did he know that Liu Xingchi was afraid that he would be hurt, so he hesitated to agree. With a physique of 2100, even if Lu Feng swung his giant sword until it smoked, he probably wouldn't be able to break through the defense. Okay, but you don't need to hold back, just do your best. Liu Xingchi couldn't persuade Lu Feng, so he could only nod and agree. Hehe, that's what you said, so I won't be polite then. Rolling up his sleeves, Lu Feng raised his hand to summon the giant sword and held it high above his head. Clang! The giant sword smashed heavily on the Mechanical Hound's head, with such force that sparks flew. The huge rebound force made Lu Feng's palm numb and the huge sword in his hand almost slipped out of his hand. On the other hand, the Mechanical Hound had no damage at all, not even a scratch could be seen. What's going on? Lu Feng's face was full of question marks, and he looked at the Mechanical Hound in front of him in disbelief. His strength attribute is over 700, far exceeding the physique of the mechanical hound. It stands to reason that it is impossible to break through the defense, but that is the fact, and he has no choice but to accept it. Hey, I still don't believe it. Lu Feng got serious, suddenly jumped high up, and used the active skill, strike. Bang! Due to the bonus of the skill, the mechanical hound's head paused slightly. But that was all he could do. Lu Feng still couldn't break through the defense and instead suffered backlash. The huge rebound force sent the giant sword flying more than 10 meters away and it plunged heavily into the ground. Liu Xingchi supported Lu Feng who was about to fall and said softly, "Are you okay?" "No. I'm fine." Lu Feng slowly came back to his senses, smiled bitterly and shook his head. Chapter 9. I'm glad you're okay. I told you not to try it. My mechanical creation is not as simple as you see. Liu Xingchi said. I'm curious too. Lu Feng scratched his head in embarrassment, and looked at the mechanical hound again with fear in his eyes. The mechanical hound that had just been beaten ran to the giant sword and pulled it up with its mouth. Then he ran happily to Lu Feng and raised his neck. Lu Feng carefully took the giant sword from the mouth of the mechanical hound and found a row of obvious teeth marks on the blade. Gurgle. Looking at the teeth marks on the giant sword, Lu Feng swallowed subconsciously. My goodness, if these teeth were used to bite people, it would probably be as easy as eating cake. My machine shop is almost full, so we'll be able to get out soon. Liu Xingchi opened another bottle of mental potion and drank it all in one gulp. Lu Feng looked around and realized that Liu Xingchi had summoned more than 40 mechanical hounds without him noticing. This one mechanical hound is already so terrifying, it's hard to imagine what would happen if more than 40 of them attacked together. Now he finally understood why Liu Xingchi had asked about the cross-level challenge before. The rules in the school are for protecting students, but they are a serious restriction for true geniuses. Brother Liu, if it weren't for the fact that the school doesn't allow challenges above one's level, I would have asked you to help me level up. Lu Feng muttered in a low voice. It's not allowed in the school, but it's allowed in the quarantine area, so there's still a chance. Liu Xingchi patted Lu Feng on the shoulder and smiled. Lu Feng was also shocked. Are you planning to take risks in the quarantine area? There's no other way. It's my fault that I woke up too late. If I want to overtake others, I have to do this. Liu Xingchi nodded, his eyes extremely determined. But you have to reach level 15 to be eligible to enter the wilderness quarantine area. Although Liu Xingchi's current upgrade speed is amazing, it will drop significantly once it exceeds level 10. Not only because the experience bar increases significantly after level 10, but also because the crystal resources in the dungeons from level 10 to level 15 are tight and you have to queue up to use them. In 10 days, if you slack off even a little, you won't have the chance to reach level 15, let alone venture into the wilderness. I will find a way to convince the school. I must go to the quarantine area no matter what. Liu Xingchi's eyes were burning and he couldn't help but clench his fists. I support you. It would be unfair if you couldn't get into a top university. Lu Feng nodded heavily in agreement. He now has no doubt about Liu Xingchi's strength. He has overwhelming strength at only level 5. With 50 mechanical hounds providing escort, they can probably move freely even in the wilderness isolation zone with almost no risk of losing their lives. Thank you for your help. You should level up quickly. I hope to see you in the wilderness. Okay, I'll try my best. With Liu Xingchi as his goal, Lu Feng became much more motivated. Although it is difficult for him to reach level 15, it is not necessarily impossible. Liu Xingchi smiled slightly, raised his legs and walked towards the copy exit. The mechanical factory is full, let's go. Instance lobby. That guy Liu Xingchi is no good. He hasn't come out for such a long time. Wang Tianyu squatted not far from the primary copy crystal, his eyes full of resentment. That's right, even with that idiot Lu Feng leading the way, it's still so slow, someone echoed. Ever since Teacher Li took away the school badge, Wang Tianyu's team has not left. With nothing to do, they simply squatted beside the primary copy crystal, waiting to see Liu Xingchi make a fool of himself. They didn't know that Liu Xingchi came out so slowly not because he was slow in completing the dungeon, but to fill up the mechanical factory. In fact, Liu Xingchi only took more than half an hour to complete the trial copy, which broke the school record. Humph! Liu Xingchi looks righteous on the surface, but he's actually dragging his friends down. Without that idiot Lu Feng, he's nothing but a waste. Wang Tianyu cursed angrily. Who are you calling trash? Suddenly, a familiar voice came from behind them. Chen Yao and Li Jun happened to enter the dungeon hall. Wang Tianyu jumped up suddenly as if he had touched an electric switch. No. I didn't say he was a waste. You heard it wrong, teacher. It's not a glorious thing to insult your classmates behind their backs. If I hear it again, you can forget about getting your school badge back. Chen Yao frowned and said sternly. Yes, I won't do that anymore. Wang Tianyu lowered his head, his teeth almost broken with anger. He is obviously the number one in the school now, why do people side with that guy Lu Xingchi? While they were talking, two people walked out of the vortex of the copy. They were Lu Xingchi and Lu Feng. The two teachers checked Lu Xingchi's level immediately, and when they found that he had reached level 5, they looked at each other in surprise. The escalation was happening much faster than they had expected. Under normal circumstances, it takes 1 day at the fastest and 2 days at the slowest to reach level 5. However, Lu Xingchi only spent less than 2 hours, his efficiency was amazing. However, when they thought about having the high-level Lu Feng to lead them, they felt relieved. Teacher Chen, Teacher Li. Lu Xingchi also saw the two teachers and greeted them very politely. Chen Yao walked over quickly and looked at Lu Xingchi with a complicated expression. You were able to complete the awakening mission. Teacher is really happy for you. I'm sorry to have caused you worry these days. Lu Xingchi bowed slightly. These are what teachers should do. What you should really thank are your friends. As she spoke, Chen Yao looked at Lu Feng beside Lu Xingchi, her eyes full of admiration. People who are willing to sacrifice themselves and help their classmates at such a critical moment are truly worthy of admiration. Lu Feng looked embarrassed and lowered his head. Actually, I didn't help much. You are not only helpful, but also so humble, which is really rare. The appreciation on Chen Yao's face became even stronger. Little did they know that Lu Feng was not being modest, he really was of no help. Teacher Chen, do you have time? I want to discuss something with you. Lu Xingchi asked proactively. Yes, come with me. Chen Yao knew Lu Xingchi's character and knew that he would not speak up unless it was a big deal, so she took him aside. Student Lu, what do you want to discuss with me? Teacher, I want to apply for a wilderness qualification certificate. Lu Xingchi said seriously. What? Chen Yao screamed subconsciously, then calmed down a little and asked in a concentrated tone, do you know what you are talking about? I know. Lu Feng has already told me the specific situation of the wilderness isolation zone. Lu Xingchi nodded. You're still asking me if I know you are not a legendary class? Even if you are a legendary class, you have to wait until you reach level 10 at least. Chen Yao was furious and very emotional. This is the student he values most in his teaching career. She didn't want to see Lu Xingchi running to the wilderness quarantine area to die, where she wouldn't even have a chance to collect his body. Chapter 10. Teacher Chen, you know, I must be admitted to Huazhong University. Please help me this time. Lu Xingchi did not give up, his eyes were extremely sincere. Hey, you might as well not have completed the awakening mission. At least your life won't be in danger. Chen Yao's face was full of disappointment. The thing she was most worried about had happened. But he didn't expect that Lu Xingchi was even crazier than he expected. He dared to apply for a wilderness qualification certificate at level 5. It's outrageous. Teacher Chen, I know you are very disappointed in me now, but I am really sober. The wilderness isolation zone is the only way for Lu Xingchi to catch up with the level, and he must get the qualification certificate no matter what. Chen Yao pondered for a long time and said, how about this? If you can break the record of the Emerald Forest dungeon, I will give you the wilderness qualification certificate you want. Good. Lu Xingchi agreed without thinking. Emerald Forest is a low-level dungeon for levels 5 to 10 on campus, and is also the most difficult of the same level. Lu Xingchi didn't really take it seriously as it was just a copy of the same level, and breaking the record was even easier. Hearing this, Chen Yao was completely stunned. I wanted Lu Xingchi to give up, but I didn't expect him to agree immediately. It can only be you, and you only have one chance. Chen Yao added. No problem. Lu Xingchi still did not hesitate. This made Chen Yao completely dumbfounded, and she was unable to recover for a long time. I thought the reason why Lu Xingchi was so confident was because he had Lu Feng's help, but now it seems that is not the case. Chen Yao was silent for a long time, but finally nodded, okay, then we have a deal. If you fail, don't mention the qualification certificate again in the future. The two of them walked towards the intermediate dungeon area together, and Li Jun, Wang Tianyu, and others followed. Everyone stopped in front of a copy crystal, through which they could vaguely see a scene of an emerald green forest. There are more than one copy crystals for levels 5 to 10, and the number of candidates who stay below level 10 is not large. There are no people who choose to level up in the emerald forest, so naturally there is no need to queue. Go ahead. Chen Yao looked solemn and glanced at Liu Xingchi beside her. Liu Xingchi nodded and walked towards the empty copy crystal with steady steps. Brother Liu, do you really want to choose this copy? Out of kindness, Lu Feng stepped forward and gave a reminder. Although the Emerald Forest is the dungeon with the highest experience level of 5 to 10, it is also the most difficult. If you consider the cost-effectiveness, it is definitely not the best choice. Liu Xingchi smiled slightly, without further explanation, and whispered, "It's okay, it's all the same anyway, you should hurry up and upgrade." Seeing Lu Feng walking over again, Wang Tianyu couldn't help but become a little anxious and walked up quickly. "Yo, you're still a friend. You're nothing but a drag on your friends. There's something wrong with your brain." Lu Feng glanced sideways and walked towards the high-level dungeon area without looking back. He had no intention of following Liu Xingchi into the dungeon, he just came to remind him. Seeing that Lu Feng really left, Wang Tianyu was overjoyed. "Hehe, you are too young to fight with me." Ignoring Wang Tianyu, who was confused, Liu Xingchi placed his hand on the crystal copy. Dungeon, Emerald Forest recommended level, 5-10 instance difficulty, normal level A. Whirlpool sucked it in and it disappeared in an instant. "Teacher Chen, are you really comfortable letting him enter the Emerald Forest alone?" Li Jun wanted to persuade him, but when he thought that he was not his student, he did not say much. He is too arrogant. He must know his limits. Chen Yao remained serious. If young people are not crazy, how can they still be called young people? Didn't we also go through this period when we were young? We still have to understand. Li Jun unscrewed the thermos cup he carried with him and took a sip of tea. "He asked me for a wilderness qualification certificate," Chen Yao said suddenly. Puff. Unable to hold back, Li Jun suddenly spat out a mouthful of water, along with a few tea leaves. Ahem. This kid is too crazy, he deserves it. Emerald Forest. The dense branches and leaves are intertwined, forming an impenetrable green environment. Stars of sunlight are scattered among the leaves, making it feel like being in an emerald palace. As the breeze blew, various smells spread, the freshness of leaves, the wetness of moss, and the subtle smell of blood. The seemingly peaceful and tranquil forest is actually filled with murderous intent, and you will be attacked if you are not careful. Liu Xingchi wasted no time and released all 50 mechanical hounds immediately. 50 mechanical hounds were lined up neatly, like a well-trained army. Kill! At a command, the mechanical hounds suddenly spread out and ran in all directions. A creaking sound came from the dense forest, getting farther and farther away until it disappeared completely. With the god-level talent of Quantum Link, Liu Xingchi does not need any protection at all. Since the goal is to break a record, efficiency naturally comes first. The Emerald Forest is different from the trial dungeon, it has elite monsters and overlords. If you want to pass the level, you need to kill the final lord, otherwise he will not appear at the exit of the copy. Before they had walked far, a thorny vine came blowing towards them, accompanied by a strong wind. It's so fast as lightning that there is no time to react. However, this seemingly fierce attack was just a tickle to Liu Xingchi. The attack of the vines was weakened by more than 50 times, causing almost no harm to Liu Xingchi. It was just a barely visible red mark. Even an accidental fall would be much more serious than this. That's it. Liu Xingchi scratched the itchy wound and used the Eye of Truth to scan in the direction of the attack. Wood Fairy, normal, level, 7 strength, 420 intelligence, 6 agility, 0 physique, 820 skill, whip. Without the Eye of Truth activated, the wood sprite looks no different from an ordinary tree. It can only be detected when it actively attacks. However, it cannot escape the detection of the Eye of Truth, but using the Eye of Truth consumes mental energy. It's nothing in the short term and can be almost ignored. If you keep the Eye of Truth open for a long time, your mental strength will not be able to sustain it. Even if one is lucky enough to detect it in advance, the wood demon's outrageous physique and extraordinary strength are enough to give people a headache. Because of this, the Emerald Forest is known as the most difficult intermediate copy, and almost no one will actively choose it. If you challenge the Emerald Forest normally, you must be equipped with a shooter who is good at long-range attacks. Taking advantage of the long arms and constantly shooting at trees to ensure absolute safety, the efficiency is naturally not very high. Chapter 11. Just right, let me try out my new skills on you. Xingchi slowly raised the refined revolver in his hand and locked onto the wood monster. Using the skill, the refined revolver was covered with a layer of dazzling flames, and dazzling red lotus runes appeared on the gun body. Bang! Pull the trigger hard. A high-speed rotating incendiary bomb streaked across the sky, like a flaming dragon emerging from the abyss, erupting with a deafening roar. The explosive bomb hit the wood monster accurately and exploded immediately. In an instant, the raging flames engulfed the wood monster, and the blazing flames shot straight into the sky. Roar! The wood demon let out a shrill roar, and was instantly ignited without being able to move. The scorching fire waves quickly burned the wood monster into charcoal, pitch black without a trace of life. Kill the wood monster and gain 110 experience points. Kill the wood monster, get 50 gold coins. Tree species *1. The explosive bomb with 10 times the power is really terrifying. Xingchi was also shocked. The bullet fired out does not look like a bullet, but more like a missile. It just so happens that the fire attribute also restrains plant monsters, so it is normal for the wood monster to be killed instantly. Strange, why haven't the mechanical hounds killed the monsters yet? It has been a while since the 50 mechanical hounds left, but there has been no news of the monster being killed. This was obviously not normal, unless the mechanical hound hadn't encountered the monster. But this is impossible. He encountered the wood monster shortly after he left, which means the density of monsters is still quite high. The only explanation is that the mechanical hound cannot detect the wood demon, and the wood demon does not regard the mechanical hound as an enemy. You only attack living things, right? Xingchi quickly figured it out and immediately modified the attack command, attack all plants. 50 mechanical hounds wandering aimlessly began a frenzied attack. No matter what plant it is, scratch it first. Even if it's just a small inconspicuous grass, I'll take a bite of it. Xingchi continued to walk deeper into the dungeon, and soon he saw the experience light curtain flickering. Kill the wood monster and gain 110 experience points. Kill the grass spirit and gain 80 experience points. Kill the wood monster and gain 110 experience points. The wood demon's level has reached 7, but it is still vulnerable to the black iron level mechanical hound. After breaking through level 5, the growth of the experience bar has slowed down significantly. It's good to have more dogs, it's really efficient. Looking at the constantly jumping experience bar, Xingchi smiled very happily. Without staying there for too long, he quickened his pace and walked deeper into the forest. The wood monster could not cause any effective harm to him, so he naturally did not need to be on guard. Boom boom boom. Deafening explosions continued to be heard in the silent forest, and each explosive bomb would take away a wood monster. As you go deeper, the level of the wood monsters increases and the experience points increase a lot. Even so, it took Xingchi about 3 hours to reach level 6. After level 5, the upgrade speed slowed down significantly. It's still too slow. Xingchi looked at the slowly growing experience bar and shook his head helplessly. If other students heard this, they would probably be so angry that they would curse. He had only been in the dungeon hall for more than 5 hours, but he had already reached level 6. You know, most students took 2 or 3 days to do it, and he still complained it was too slow. It seems that the decision to go to the wilderness quarantine area was the right one. Xingchi became more determined in his mind and couldn't help but quicken his pace again. After he stepped into the core area of the Emerald Forest, he was surprised to find that no more tree monsters attacked him. He must have entered the Dungeon Lord's territory, and he subconsciously slowed down his pace. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. A series of spikes shot towards Xingchi's back like bullets. The angle was extremely tricky, leaving no room for avoidance. Under the effect of quantum link, the seemingly powerful spikes are shot. The blows on Xingchi did seem a bit soft and weak, but they were slightly more painful than whipping. A red flower demon that was as tall as a person actually showed a human-like expression of surprise after seeing that its attack was ineffective. I saw it pull its roots out of the soil and start running wildly. This. Xingchi turned around quickly and didn't react for a moment. It was the first time he had seen a plant that could run away. It was truly strange. But it was only a brief moment of distraction, and he immediately opened the Eye of Truth. Crown of Thorns, Elite, level, 9 strength, 872 intelligence, 250 agility, 610 physique, 996 skill. Spike Jet. This guy's agility attribute is quite high, and he can run faster than him. But no matter how fast it is, it can't be faster than a bullet. Xingchi quickly raised the refined revolver in his hand. Bang! The explosive bomb hit the crown of thorns flower accurately, and the violent flames instantly ignited it. The vitality of the elite monster is indeed strong. Even if it is covered in flames, it is still running wildly. However, its running speed was getting slower and slower, so Xingchi raised his hand and fired a few more shots, finally killing it completely. Kill the thorn crown flower and gain 1500 experience points. Kill the thorn crown flower and obtain thorn crown pollen *1. This crown of thorns flower gives you a lot of experience, it's worthy of being an elite monster. When Xingchi saw the long experience bar jump, he couldn't help but ponder it inwardly. The periphery of the Emerald Forest had been almost cleared, so Xingchi simply took back all the mechanical hounds. Elite monsters and lords may only appear in the core area, and the location of the lord is random. The efficiency of one person's search is naturally not as fast as that of 50 mechanical hounds. Besides, the mechanical hound's agility attribute is ridiculously high, and it can move much faster than Xingchi. Xingchi left 10 mechanical hounds by his side, and the rest went out to look for elite monsters. The army of hunters swept through like a hurricane, leaving not a single blade of grass untouched. No matter where the crown of thorns hides, it will be useless if you catch it and eat it crazily. Fortunately, plant-type monsters don't bleed, otherwise the Emerald Forest would have been dyed red long ago. Xingchi was a little tired from searching, so he leaned against a big tree to take a rest. Seeing the bright red fruits on the tree, he picked one and took a big bite. It tastes good. Xingchi nodded with satisfaction and spoke vaguely, "Strange, why haven't we found the Lord yet?" Boom boom. Suddenly, the ground began to shake violently, and the giant tree behind Xingchi also shook violently. A tree trunk as thick as a thigh swept towards him, giving him a very oppressive feeling. Xingchi reacted quickly and rolled forward to create a safe distance. He quickly turned around and used his eye of truth to scan the data of the giant tree in front of him. Emerald Tree, Lord, level, 10 strength, 1450 intelligence, 300 agility, 200 physique, 1800 skills, rapid self-healing, giant tree entanglement. The giant emerald tree is huge in size, reaching a height of more than 10 meters. When it gets angry, the leaves all over its body emit an emerald green light, and there is a pattern in the center of the trunk that resembles a human face. Chapter 12. Oh, this is really a case of searching for something without any effort, but it finally came to me. Xingchi looked at the Lord in front of him, with the corners of his mouth slightly raised. "All of you, come together." At a command, 10 mechanical hounds rushed towards the giant emerald tree. The mechanical hound exploded at full speed, so fast that only a series of afterimages could be seen. Roar! The giant emerald tree didn't take the tiny mechanical hound seriously at all and swung its huge branches in an attempt to knock it away. But before the branch got close, the leading mechanical hound swung its steel claws and easily cut off the branch. A force of up to 2100 is no joke, even the giant emerald tree can't withstand it. Half of the mechanical hounds followed the drooping branches and climbed to the top of the giant emerald tree and began the cutting work. Oink oink! Like flowers scattered by a fairy, sparse green leaves and branches fell down madly. In just a dozen seconds, the giant emerald tree that was lush and green just now turned into a bare pole. A giant emerald tree without its branches is like a toothless tiger, completely threatening. They could only allow the mechanical hound to devour them crazily, and every strike of its knife-sharp claws would leave deep scars. Roar! The roar of the giant emerald tree gradually turned into a painful wail. Under the skin of the Eye of Truth, one can clearly see that its health bar is decreasing rapidly. The attribute calculations of monsters and human professionals are somewhat different. Even with the same physique, the health of the Lord is much higher than that of humans. The Plant Lord has the thickest blood among all monster types due to its extremely high physical conversion rate. This is just the ordinary level Dungeon Lord. The conversion rate of the difficult level and nightmare level lords is higher, and their strength is naturally more terrifying. As expected of a Plant Lord, he is really thick-skinned. Xingchi always kept a safe distance and observed the battle calmly. Even though the emerald giant tree was badly ravaged by the mechanical hounds, its strength is definitely not weak among those of the same level. The emerald tree also has two tricky skills, Rapid Self-Healing and Giant Tree Entanglement. Rapid self-healing allows the emerald tree to quickly recover a percentage of its health when it is at low health. The entanglement of huge trees is even more difficult to deal with. Once you are bound, it is almost impossible to break free. If the enemy cannot be killed quickly, the entire team may be dragged to death. The reason why humans can defeat the strong with the weak is mainly due to the cooperation between teams and their superb wisdom. However, in the face of absolute strength, everything seems insignificant. Boom! In just 1 minute, the giant emerald tree fell down with a loud bang. The 10 mechanical hounds were unharmed and ran to Liu Xingchi's feet as if to seek credit, wagging their tails continuously. Kill the Lord Emerald Tree and gain 4,000 experience points. Obtain spoils, Jade Fruit 2, Jade Wooden Staff 1. Congratulations on your level upgrade, current level is LV7. With a flash of golden light, Liu Xingchi's health and mental strength were all restored. The slight injuries from the recent battle were completely recovered, and before he had time to check the spoils, another light curtain popped up. Congratulations on breaking the dungeon record. All rewards in the dungeon will be doubled. Congratulations on your level upgrade, current level is LV8. Before the golden light had time to fade, another more dazzling beam of light descended, and Liu Xingchi was promoted to another level. Not only did the level increase, the number of loot in Liu Xingchi's backpack also doubled. Breaking the record has such benefits. Liu Xingchi felt the surging power in his body and was overjoyed. These are the basic knowledge taught in professional lectures, but unfortunately Liu Xingchi missed it. How about we break all the copy records in the school before we leave? Liu Xingchi stroked his chin gently, and this thought inexplicably emerged in his mind. But it was only for a moment, and he finally shook his head and rejected the idea. The copy limit in the school is still too low, so don't waste your time. Dungeon records are not exclusive to schools, there are also records for wild dungeons, and there are even non-ordinary dungeons, the benefits of which are obviously much higher. After the giant emerald tree died, the dungeon exit appeared not far away. Liu Xingchi was not in a hurry to leave, but took a look at his current attributes: name, Liu Xingchi. Occupation, Mechanical Commander, only 1, level, 8 Qi and Blood, 3,900 Spirit, 3,900 Strength, 290 plus 100 Intelligence, 290 plus 100 Agility, 290 plus 100 Physique, 290 plus 100. As Liu Xingchi's own attributes grew, the attributes of the Mechanical Hound also skyrocketed. If we attack the Emerald Tree again, we can probably kill it in just over 10 seconds. Without stopping for too long, Liu Xingchi walked straight towards the vortex of the copy exit. 10 minutes ago, in the dungeon hall. Dusk fell quietly and the hall was filled with people, much more lively than during the day. The school's copy hall closes at 11 p.m., and there are still 3 hours left before closing. 3 hours is far from enough to clear a dungeon, so most students did not choose to continue entering the dungeon. Instead, they gathered in groups of 3 or 4 to discuss their experiences and plans for tomorrow. Damn it! My feet are numb from squatting, why doesn't the copy crystal turn red? Wang Tianyu slowly stood up, cursing. In order to make fun of Liu Xingchi, he stayed in the crystal area of the intermediate copy for an entire afternoon. The copy crystal in the school has an early warning device, which will emit red light once it detects that a student's health has reached the warning line. As long as the red light flashes, the copy crystal will forcibly teleport out students with low health to ensure their safety. However, there is one exception. Once you are killed instantly and there is no time to teleport, you are really dead. Because of this, the school does not allow students to challenge higher level copies in order to ensure maximum safety. Wang Tianyu waited for the whole afternoon but did not see any red light flashing. Brother Wang, don't be anxious. The kid probably hasn't entered the core area yet. He's finished once he touches the crown of thorns. Someone said. That's true. That guy must have been kicked in the head by a donkey. He actually chose such a difficult instance. Even if I go in person, I'm afraid it will be a bit difficult. Wang Tianyu smiled and nodded. He didn't think that Liu Xingchi could pass the level at all. The monsters in the Emerald Forest not only have thick health, but are also very hidden, and you will be easily ambushed if you are not careful. Especially the final lord, the Emerald Tree is even more difficult to deal with. Without burst skills, don't even think about killing it completely. They didn't know about the agreement between Liu Xingchi and Chen Yao. If they knew, they would probably laugh their heads off. Chapter 13. Captain, do you think there is such a possibility? A nice-looking woman in red stood up from the team and chuckled, Lu Xingchi can't even beat the monsters, so he can't get out at all. It's very possible. Unfortunately, those who haven't cleared the level will be teleported out after 11 o'clock. By that time, most people will have left. Won't there be many people watching that guy laugh? Wang Tianyu nodded heavily and sighed with great regret. I have an idea. Let's spread the news that Lu Xingchi is challenging the Emerald Forest alone. It will probably attract a lot of people to watch, suggested the woman in red. Wang Tianyu raised his lips slightly and praised repeatedly, good idea, I'll leave this to you. After receiving instructions, the woman in red walked towards the advanced copy area. Sure enough, news spread extremely fast. As a school celebrity, Lu Xingchi already had considerable fame. After hearing that he was challenging the Emerald Forest alone, everyone was naturally very interested and all rushed into the intermediate dungeon area. Is it true that Lu Xingchi challenged the Emerald Forest alone? It's probably true. Look, both teachers are here, who else would have such a big face except him? That's too arrogant, isn't it? You dare to challenge the most difficult intermediate dungeon by yourself. Who says it's not true? Even legendary professions wouldn't dare to do this. It was a leisurely time now, plus Lu Xingchi was well known, so in just a moment the intermediate dungeon area was packed with people. Hehe, I'm going to make you look ridiculous this time. Wang Tianyu looked at the crowded crowd behind him and grinned. The two teachers who were waiting beside the copy crystal only then noticed the noise behind them. What's going on? Why are there so many people here suddenly? Looking back curiously, teacher Li Jun frowned. I guess he heard some rumors. Student Lu is already quite famous. Chen Yao said calmly without looking back. Do you want me to chase them away? Teacher Li Jun seemed to have thought of something and asked in a low voice. Chen Yao shook her head and said in a serious tone, no need. Young people are arrogant and proud, so they still need to be tempered. It is better to lose face than to lose your life. That's true. I'll listen to you. After all, he was not Li Jun's student, so he couldn't say much. If you think about it carefully, it makes sense. Lu Xingchi lost face at school this time, so he should be more calm in his actions in the future. As the two were talking, the copy of the crystal, which had been silent, suddenly emitted a dazzling golden light. Chen Yao and Li Jun stood up at the same time. They haven't seen this kind of light for a long time. That is the golden light that appears when breaking the copy record. In the intermediate dungeon area, the speakers that had been silent for years began to make sounds simultaneously. Congratulations to Lu Xingchi for breaking the Emerald Forest dungeon record, taking a total of 3 hours, 42 minutes and 16 seconds. The electronic sound was like a dusk drum and a loud bell, constantly echoing in the dungeon hall. The originally noisy hall became so quiet that you could hear a pin drop, and everyone looked stunned. How is this possible? How is this possible? Wang Tianyu stared at the dazzling golden light emitted by the copy crystal, his eyes widened like copper bells. This is really outrageous. How could Lu Xingchi break the record of the most difficult intermediate dungeon by himself? This. Not to mention Wang Tianyu who didn't believe it, even the two knowledgeable teachers looked at each other in confusion for a moment. They clearly remembered that the Emerald Forest copy record was broken more than 10 years ago. The team is led by a level 15 legendary professional, and the other 4 team members are all of rare professions. He was the only legendary professional in our school in more than a decade, setting a new record of 6 hours and 20 minutes. This incident has left a significant mark in the school's history, and it is impossible to remember it wrongly. Could it be that the replica crystal is malfunctioning? Li Jun looked at the copy crystal emitting golden light and said something to himself. If Lu Xingchi only had to pass the Emerald Forest, he could barely accept it. It took more than 3 hours to break the record. He couldn't believe it. It was too exaggerated. Lend me your copy of the order. Chen Yao is a man of action and reached out to ask for the copy token. The copy token can control all copy crystals in the copy hall and is managed by the teacher on duty that day. At the end of each day, the token will be handed over to the teacher on duty for the next day. The token can not only control the entry and exit of students, but also view the copy details. Good. Li Jun also knew what Chen Yao was going to do and immediately handed over the token. After being injected with spiritual power, the copy token emits a faint light. Search the Emerald Forest for the most recent dungeon history. With a thought, Chen Yao's mind flashed with the recent exploration records of the Emerald Forest. The first one is Liu Xingchi's clearance history. Team, Liu Xingchi, Captain, Emerald Forest Exploration Degree, 99% clearance time, 3 hours, 42 minutes, 16 seconds, new record, hiss. Chen Yao looked at the historical records of Jade Crystal and couldn't help but gasp. It's not because of the total time taken to complete the game, but because the exploration level is as high as 99%. What does 99% mean? Almost all the monsters in the Emerald Forest were killed. Generally speaking, when the exploration degree reaches 60%, the barrier of the core area of the copy will disappear, and you will be qualified to challenge the Lord. The previous copy record was stuck at 60% exploration degree, and then immediately entered the core area. There is also a certain element of luck, as I encountered the Lord right after entering the core area. And Liu Xingchi did not rely on luck at all, that was real hard power. This means that more than 3 hours is far from Liu Xingchi's limit. How did he do this? Did he set the mountain on fire? Chen Yao's face was full of disbelief. Is it that exaggerated? Li Jun grabbed the copy token with doubt. I couldn't help but explore it, and my hands shook with fear, and the token fell to the ground. At this moment, Liu Xingchi just walked out of the copy vortex. He was unharmed, only his clothes were slightly dirty. Seeing the copy token dropped at his feet, he bent down and picked it up. Teacher Li, you dropped something. Liu Xingchi walked up to the two teachers and handed them the copy token with both hands. Li Jun finally came to his senses. He did not rush to take the token, but used the Eye of Truth to check the level of the person in front of him. Name, Liu Xingchi, level, 8. The copy crystal may be faulty, but the level cannot be lied to. If it weren't for breaking the record and the exploration level being almost 100%, it would be impossible to level up 3 times in a row. Good boy, how on earth did you do that? Li Jun suddenly grabbed Liu Xingchi's shoulders, and was even more excited than Chen Yao, the class teacher. It's nothing special, just moving forward slowly. Liu Xingchi scratched his head. He really had nothing to say. There is no special skill in his way of clearing the level. Just one word, recklessness. Hearing this, Li Jun's face was filled with black lines, and he didn't know how to respond. This is called slow progress. How can other students survive? Chapter 14. This is my student, how come you are more excited than me? Chen Ya rolled her eyes at Li Jun and quickly took Liu Xingchi to an empty lounge nearby. Teacher Chen, does our agreement still stand? Liu Xingchi asked straight to the point. Of course it counts. Since you have successfully broken the record, I will help you apply for the Wilderness Qualification Certificate. Chen Yao nodded slightly, as if she remembered something and felt a little embarrassed, but what? Liu Xingchi asked immediately. However, the application for a Wilderness Qualification Certificate requires the approval of the principal himself, and he also needs to report to the Central Daxia headquarters. In your case, it will take at least 3 days. Chen Yao explained patiently. Because wilderness isolation areas are extremely dangerous, the qualification approval process is also extremely strict. The Central Daxia headquarters will strictly review the qualifications of applicants, and there is even a possibility of failure. The key point is that the principal hasn't come back yet. Not only will it take a lot of time to explain, but there's no guarantee that the application will be successful. 3 days. Liu Xingchi lowered his head, looking a little solemn. 3 days was too long. There were only 9 days left until the national entrance examination and he couldn't wait that long. How about this? I'll lend you my wilderness qualification certificate first. Chen Yao also noticed Liu Xingchi's disappointment. After hesitating for a while, she took out her wilderness qualification certificate. The wilderness qualification certificate is a real name system and can be lent to others. However, there are still certain risks. If the borrower dies accidentally in the wilderness, the lender will bear the main responsibility. Many children of noble families who failed to apply for wilderness qualification certificates would borrow the wilderness qualification certificates from their adults and go into the wilderness for training. In order to ensure safety, the noble families would arrange professional mercenaries to provide close protection. It is unprecedented for a person like Liu Xingchi to enter a wilderness isolation zone alone. Thank you, teacher. Liu Xingchi took the wilderness qualification certificate with both hands and bowed respectfully to the teacher. Chen Yao smiled and nodded, and then reminded, you must promise the teacher that you must ensure your own safety no matter what. Teacher, don't worry. I know what I'm doing. Liu Xingchi nodded. Chen Yao gives you 100,000 gold coins, do you accept it? A transaction interface popped up and Liu Xingchi looked confused. It's not a mistake, just accept it. Chen Yao smiled slightly. Without much hesitation, Liu Xingchi accepted the 100,000 gold coins. He is not a pretentious person, and he is really short of money now. Instead of being timid, it is better to grow up as quickly as possible and then pay back the teacher when you make money in the future. The teacher can't give you much help. You have to rely on yourself in the future. Chen Yao advised earnestly. Time was running out, so Liu Xingchi didn't stay in the lounge for long. As soon as he went out, he was surrounded by enthusiastic classmates. Brother Liu, can I team up with you? Master Liu, all members of our team are in the first echelon, why don't you consider it? Sorry, I'm going to the wilderness quarantine area and I'm not considering forming a team for the time being. Liu Xingchi's words dampened everyone's enthusiasm, and the onlookers tactfully dispersed. Only those at level 15 are eligible to enter the wilderness isolation zone. Even Wang Tianyu, who has the highest level, is not qualified. Looking at the figure gradually disappearing into the distance, everyone sighed. Ah! I didn't expect that Liu Xingchi, who awakened the latest, would be ahead of everyone else. Comparing yourself to others is really frustrating. They are only at level 8 and are going to the wilderness, while we are still playing house here. Why are you so jealous? If you can break the Emerald Forest record, will the teacher not give you a certificate? Everyone chatted here and there, and soon they dispersed completely. Only Wang Tianyu was reluctant to leave. He was wearing a baseball cap and stared at Liu Xingchi's back until he completely disappeared into the night. Humph, what's so great about that? I'll be heading to the wilderness quarantine area soon, and I'll make you suffer when the time comes. Wang Tianyu said viciously. Before Liu Xingchi had walked far, a familiar figure appeared in front of him. Brother Liu, congratulations! Lu Feng clasped his fists to congratulate. Don't come on, did you gain anything today? Liu Xingchi smiled slightly and asked back. The two of them walked arm in arm towards dormitory building number 9. I'm almost at level 12. I think I'll be there by tomorrow. Lu Feng bared his teeth and added, thanks to you, a first-tier team invited me to join today. Oh. This is a good thing, but what do you mean by thanks to me? Liu Xingchi was a little confused. With my level, I'm not qualified to join the first-tier team. They are willing to join you just because of your face, Lu Feng explained. Do I have such a big face? How come I don't know it? Liu Xingchi touched his chin and murmured. It seems that you have no idea of your influence. Since you are stubborn, they have no choice but to show goodwill to your good friends. Lu Feng raised his eyebrows slightly. Liu Xingchi smiled and said loudly, anyway, it's a good thing. I hope to see you in the wilderness. Let's not talk about me. When do you plan to go to the wilderness? Lu Feng asked curiously. Liu Xingchi's eyes were firm, of course the sooner the better, let's set off tonight. You're in such a hurry. Have you not eaten yet? I'll go to the cafeteria and bring you some food. The train meal is expensive and tastes terrible. Without waiting for an answer, Lu Feng turned around and ran towards the cafeteria. Liu Xingchi returned to the dormitory alone. The dormitory was empty, and the rest of my roommates hadn't returned yet. He packed up briefly and bought some emergency food and essential medicines in case of emergency. Then he took out a yellowed photo hidden under the pillow. This was also the reason why he rushed back to the dormitory, to keep the photos with him no matter what. The photo shows young Liu Xingchi and his parents who disappeared many years ago. So much time has passed that the photos have become a little oxidized and only blurry smiling faces can be seen. Mom and Dad, you must still be alive, right? Gently stroking the yellowed photo, tears flowed from the corners of Liu Xingchi's eyes. 8 years ago, my parents left home in a hurry and never came back. Before leaving, his father specifically told him not to leave the room. 3 days later, an uncle named Guan found young Liu Xingchi and took him to the remote Zhongcheng. Uncle Guan claimed to be an old friend of my father and said that my parents would never come back. He also helped Liu Xingchi change his name. His original name was Liu Xingchi. No matter how much Liu Xingchi begged, Uncle Guan refused to reveal any information about his parents. If you can get into a Huxia school, maybe we'll have a chance to meet again. After taking him to Zhongcheng and settling him down, he left after leaving a few words. 8 years had passed since they last met, and Liu Xingchi had never seen Uncle Guan again. If the living expenses were not deposited into his card on time every month, he would have suspected that Uncle Guan was also gone. This is also the reason why Liu Xingchi insisted on taking the entrance exam to Huazhong University, even at the risk of his life. Chapter 15. Bang! The dormitory door was pushed open suddenly, and Lu Feng walked in carrying a lunchbox. Liu Xingchi immediately put the photo into the inventory and raised his hand to wipe the tears from his face. Brother Liu, what's wrong with you? Why are you still crying? Looking at Liu Xingchi with bloodshot eyes, Lu Feng walked over quickly. This was the first time he saw Liu Xingchi crying, and he couldn't help but ask. It's nothing, there's sand in my eyes. Liu Xingchi tried hard to force a smile. Lu Feng glanced at the closed window, speechless. But he didn't ask any more questions and handed the lunchbox to Liu Xingchi. Eat it quickly, it won't taste good if it gets cold. Taking the lunchbox, Liu Xingchi ate with relish and finished it all in no time. Belch! Liu Xingchi burped for a long time and touched his bulging belly. You brought too much. Once we enter the wilderness isolation zone, we won't be able to eat delicious meals. We have to eat enough now. Lu Feng said with a smile. It's almost time, and I have to catch the train, so I'll leave first. After checking the time, Liu Xingchi stood up. Before leaving, he deliberately paid back the 20,000 gold coins he owed Lu Feng. I will pay back the gold coins I owe to the teacher slowly in the future. But if you fail to pay your friend gold coins, it might affect his joint entrance examination results. It takes more than 8 hours to travel from Zhongcheng to the nearest wilderness isolation area. Liu Xingchi slept on the train all night and arrived at the terminal early the next morning. As soon as he got off the train, Liu Xingchi was shocked by the scene before him. On the deep blue skyline, the Great Wall of Steel stands tall and majestic, like a giant dragon spanning the earth. Its length stretches endlessly, crossing the mountains and seas, with no end in sight at a glance, and its height reaches the clouds, magnificent and majestic. The Great Wall of Steel presents a deep grey-blue color, as if it were to engrave all the wind, rain, snow and frost in the sky into it. The sunlight shines down and illuminates the metal surface, giving people an indescribable sense of solemnity. Looking up at the majestic Great Wall of Steel, Liu Xingchi felt an unprecedented power in his heart. It is a kind of sincere respect for the motherland and admiration for the indomitable spirit of mankind. The steel walls of the first wilderness isolation zone are so majestic that it is hard to imagine how spectacular the steel walls of the second and third isolation zones are. The steel wall surrounds the entire border of Daxia to resist foreign invasion. It is precisely because of the existence of layers of steel walls that Daxia has become the most populous country in the world. It is also one of the relatively safest countries. Liu Xingchi followed the route instructions and passed the station and arrived at the foot of the Great Steel Wall. It's very lively here, most of the people there are young people, and young people like Liu Xingchi are rarely seen. Even if you occasionally see one or two, they are mostly led by the elders in the family. After approaching the Great Steel Wall, Liu Xingchi saw its other side. Unlike the magnificent view from a distance, from up close you can see the criss-crossing scars of knives and axes on the Great Wall of Steel. This is still the inner side of the Great Wall of Steel. One can imagine how many times the Great Wall of Steel has resisted foreign invasions. In addition to the steel walls, there is also an almost invisible light blue barrier protecting the inner layer. There is a martyr's monument at the foot of the Great Wall of Steel, on which are engraved numerous names. There are many such martyrs' monuments, almost one every 100 meters. There is no such thing as a peaceful life. It's just that someone is carrying a heavy burden and moving forward. Looking at the densely packed names on the martyr's monument, Liu Xingchi couldn't help but feel emotional. Without stopping for too long, Liu Xingchi arrived at the nearest city gate. The city gates are all numbered, and the gate that Liu Xingchi entered is numbered 2786. There are thousands of steel gates like this, and each gate is guarded by a member of the mountain tribe. Hello, please show me your wilderness qualification certificate. The young guard looked at Liu Xingchi with confusion. He had never seen anyone at level 8 dare to come to the wilderness isolation zone, and alone. However, his moral character as a soldier did not allow him to ask more questions. His duty was to guard the city gate, and he had no right to ask about other matters. Liu Xingchi took out the wilderness qualification certificate, and the other party nodded after confirming it. Verification completed, open the city gate. The steel gate made a dull sound of gears, and a breath of air from the wilderness blew in. Before actually leaving the city gate, Xingchi felt an extremely dangerous aura. Young man, the wilderness isolation zone is very dangerous, especially these days, you must be careful when you are alone. The garrison soldier spoke up with good intentions and gave a reminder. Thanks. Xingchi saluted the other party and then walked out of the city gate. As soon as I walked out of the city gate, I heard the sound of gears turning again from behind, and the steel city gate was completely closed. There was a complex smell in the air, and Xingchi couldn't tell whether it was the smell of blood or the smell of rot. As far as the eye can see, there are incomplete skeletons, some of which belong to monsters, and some to humans. It was early morning and there was thick fog outside the city, so the scenery 100 meters away was completely invisible. Faintly one could hear the roar of monsters in the distance, as well as the faint sound of weapons clashing. The Great Steel Wall seems to have magical powers, separating the city and the outside world into two worlds. Only when you come here can you feel the cruelty of the wilderness and the fragility of life. When you are here, make the best of it. There is no point in overthinking. There was no time for Xingchi to adapt, he immediately released all the mechanical hounds. A total of 50 mechanical hounds surrounded him, giving the all-too-alone Xingchi some confidence. Perhaps because they were afraid of the oppressive feeling brought by the Great Steel Wall, there was not a single monster to be seen within hundreds of meters. Xingchi led a huge mechanical army and advanced into the depths of the fog. 10 minutes later, he encountered his first monster in the wilderness. It was a black rat, sturdy in build and about 1 meter long. His eyes were as red as blood, revealing his bloodthirsty ferocity, his sharp front teeth were like steel needles, and dark purple venom was constantly dripping from his mouth. Walking in the fog was like a ghost, as if smelling the scent of a stranger, and his nose twitched constantly. Without rushing to alarm the monster, Xingchi opened the Eye of Truth. Shadow Rat, Normal, Level, 15 Strength, 1800 Intelligence, 20 Agility, 2100 Physique, 1600 Skill, Poison Fang Level 15 is the lowest level of monsters in the first isolation zone. The deeper you go into the wilderness, the higher the level of the monsters. Shadow rats are quite tricky monsters. With their extremely fast speed and poisonous fangs, they occupy a large territory. If you get bitten accidentally, it's no joke. If you don't detoxify in time, you may die. It's a pity that they encountered Xingchi. The mechanical hound is immune to all poisons and is a natural nemesis of the shadow rat. The area within 100 miles here should be the territory of the shadow rat group, and this is just the outer area. Superior. At a command, a mechanical hound pounced towards the shadow rat. Chapter 16. As Xingchi's level increased, the attributes of the mechanical hound also improved to an incredible level. Agility is nearly 8,000 points, and the speed is so fast that only an afterimage can be seen. The visibility in the fog was no more than 100 meters, and by the time the shadow rat noticed it, it was already too late. Bang! Without any unnecessary movement, the mechanical hound with a big nose rushed forward. The power was so strong that Shadow Rat had no chance to defend himself, and his body flew out like a kite with a broken string. It smashed heavily on a giant tree, and the terrifying force caused the towering tree to tremble violently. Before the Shadow Rat could get up, the mechanical hound rushed forward again. The extremely high agility attribute makes the mechanical hound's attack speed astonishingly fast. The steel claws, as sharp as a knife, easily broke through the Shadow Rat's fur defense, and blood splattered everywhere. The whole process happened in a flash, and even the Shadow Rat didn't have time to sound the alarm. Kill Shadow Rat and gain 900 experience points. Kill the Shadow Rat and obtain Shadow Fang *1. Looking at the obviously rising experience bar, Xingchi's mouth curled up slightly. One Shadow Rat can earn you nearly 1% of your experience points, and you only need to kill more than 100 of them to level up. Disperse and go find the Shadow Rat. At a command, 40 mechanical hounds lined up in a row and quickly disappeared into the fog. Xingchi also kept 10 mechanical hounds by his side in case of emergency. Without stopping, he walked deeper into the wilderness. This is just the outer area of the wilderness isolation zone. A mere ordinary wild monster of level 15 is far from satisfying Xingchi's appetite. He wanted to see the limits of the mechanical hound and look for a wild copy at the same time. After all, challenging wild dungeons is the fastest way to level up, and just fighting monsters is not much faster than staying in school. Kill Shadow Rat and gain 900 experience points. Kill the Swift Shadow Rat and gain 1000 experience points. At this rate, I should be able to reach level 10 today. Looking at the rapidly increasing experience points, Liu Xingchi made a rough estimate. In just 2 days, Liu Xingchi was about to reach the school's average level. Little did he know that soon after he entered the wilderness isolation area, drastic changes took place in the school. Zhongcheng, No. 1 High School. In the principal's office, teachers Chen Yao and Li Jun looked nervous. The principal, who had just returned, had a solemn look on his face and the atmosphere seemed a little depressing. I guess we've already entered the wilderness, but we still can't get through. Teacher Chen Yao put down her phone and shook her head. There are no signal base stations in the wilderness isolation area, so it is naturally impossible to use current communication equipment. What a great move! Who told you to act on your own? Principal Zhang stood up suddenly. He was usually gentle and easygoing, but this was rare for him to get so angry. Chen Yao knew that she was in the wrong, so she didn't argue and just lowered her head in silence. It is not right to lend wilderness qualification certificates to students without approval. It would be fine if nothing happened, but if something happened, Chen Yao would be to blame. Principal Zhang, don't be too angry. Student Liu broke the Emerald Forest record at level 5, and his exploration level has reached 99%. He will definitely be fine. Li Jun acted as a peacemaker and explained with a smile. It would have been fine if he hadn't said this, but once he did, Principal Zhang became even angrier. How dare you say that? As the teacher on duty, if anything happens to Liu, you will also be held responsible. Principal Zhang's eyes were so sharp that Li Jun was so scared that he didn't dare to say anything more. The two teachers looked at each other in bewilderment. They had expected that Principal Zhang might be angry. But I didn't expect him to be so angry, and I had a bad feeling in my heart. Principal Zhang, could something have happened in the wilderness isolation zone? Chen Yao asked tentatively. You should have heard of the Abyss Church, right? Principal Zhang took a deep breath and said in a deep voice. The Abyss Church. The two's pupils suddenly contracted and they exclaimed in unison. The Abyss Church is notorious, and everyone knows it. They are clearly human beings, but in order to gain evil power, they are willing to act as running dogs of other races. Wasn't the Abyss Church wiped out 10 years ago? Chen Yao asked. Principal Zhang shook his head and sighed. The Abyss Church suffered a heavy blow 10 years ago, but it did not collapse. Instead, it has been secretly accumulating strength and preparing to make a comeback. Is yesterday's meeting related to this matter? Li Jun frowned. That's right. The Abyss Church has been dormant for 10 years, and its power may have already infiltrated every corner of the world. They got a list of geniuses from somewhere and wanted to nip it in the bud. Principal Zhang's face turned pale and he spoke through gritted teeth. The so-called genius list refers to a list of legendary professions across the country. Rare professions are not included, and brand new professions are naturally not included either. The Abyss Church did not dare to take action within Xia, so it sent people to infiltrate the first wilderness isolation zone. A level 30 deacon led hundreds of believers to secretly hunt down human geniuses. Most people who have just entered the wilderness isolation zone for training are around level 15, and those in legendary professions are only level 10. Once you encounter someone from the Abyss Church, the consequences can be imagined. Damn it! The Abyss Church is becoming more and more despicable. Li Jun clenched his fists and cursed. Hey! I am also responsible for this matter. I thought our school didn't have any legendary professions, and no one had broken through to level 15, so I didn't take it seriously. Principal Zhang sighed helplessly, his face full of self-blame. In fact, yesterday's mobilization meeting ended in the afternoon, so they could have been informed in advance. But he didn't care and didn't take it to heart at all. Principal Zhang, Mr. Liu shouldn't be on the genius list, right? Chen Yao asked cautiously. That's impossible. Mr. Liu is not a legendary professional, but there is still a great risk. Principal Zhang shook his head. The Abyss Church has always been ruthless. Even if someone is not on the genius list, they will probably kill him if they see him alone. Hearing this, Chen Yao could no longer sit still and immediately prepared to rush out. Before I even left the house, I heard Principal Zhang's powerful voice behind me. It's useless. You know the rules of the wilderness quarantine zone. Principal Zhang's words instantly calmed down Chen Yao, who had lost her mind. The first wilderness isolation area is protected by an absolute barrier, and professionals above level 30 are unable to enter. This is the rule established when the Great Wall of Steel was first built, and even the Marshal cannot change it. Chen Yao is already over level 40, so naturally she cannot enter the first wilderness isolation zone. Then what else can I do? Should I just sit and wait? Chen Yao gritted her teeth, feeling anxious. Principal Zhang shook his head and said in a serious tone, the 7 headquarters have already sent members of the fire department to conduct a large-scale investigation. Many criminals have been arrested and they can be cleared out within 3 days. Chen Yao nodded, and the anxiety in her heart was slightly dispelled. Don't worry too much. More than 100 people may sound like a lot, but the wilderness is vast and the probability of encountering them is low. Teacher Li Jun on the side also tried to comfort him, chattering incessantly. I hope so. Chen Yao nodded. All she could do now was pray silently. Chapter 17. The sky gradually darkened and the sun set in the west. The Shadow Rat territory was stained with blood, and the air was filled with a pungent smell of blood. It's still 20% away from level 10. It's a little slower than expected. Liu Xingchi opened the experience interface, looked at the almost stagnant experience bar, and muttered to himself. The monsters nearby were almost wiped out by the mechanical army. The monsters that had a bit of intelligence also fled upon hearing the news, resulting in the failure to reach level 10. But it's not a big problem, he just needs to continue looking for the next monster territory. They did not stay in the Shadow Rat territory for long. Before it got completely dark, they continued to advance deeper into the wilderness. After a while, he came to a barren mountain range, with barren rocky land all he could see. Boom boom! A rock giant made of rocks slowly approached Liu Xingchi. Liu Xingchi slowly opened the Eye of Truth and scanned the monster's data: rock giant level, 18 strength, 2500 intelligence, 20 agility, 200 physique, 3000 skill. Giant hammer. The extremely high physical fitness gives the rock giant terrifying vitality and defense. However, its slow movement speed destined it to be a sitting duck. 2 mechanical hounds rushed forward from the left and right, and their steel claws fell on the rock giant like raindrops. The thick blood bar was rapidly reduced at a speed visible to the naked eye, and it fell down with a bang after not lasting long. Kill the rock giant and gain 1500 experience points. Kill the rock giant and obtain the Heart of Rock. This place is pretty good, let's just hang out here tonight. Liu Xingchi looked at the experience gained and scanned the surrounding environment. I found that the monster resources here are quite abundant, and the view from the high ground is also very broad. Without much hesitation, Liu Xingchi built a small fortress with rocks nearby. After leaving only one air hole, Liu Xingchi moved in. Apart from the fact that the stone slab was a bit hard to sleep on, it was quite comfortable. Good dogs, I'm going to sleep, you guys go to work. Liu Xingchi waved his hand and sent out most of the mechanical hounds. Only 3 mechanical hounds were left to guard nearby to ensure Liu Xingchi's absolute safety. This is the advantage of mechanical creations, they never feel tired and will never complain. Under the action of the perpetual motion engine, each mechanical hound becomes a perpetual motion machine, tirelessly carrying out the orders of its master. Although Liu Xingchi did not take action many times during the day, most of the time it was the mechanical hounds that hunted monsters. But he had been walking for a whole day and was extremely tired, so he fell asleep soon. A dreamless night. The next morning, Liu Xingchi woke up from his sleep. He found that his level had been raised to level 10, and more than half of the experience bar had been removed. As the level increases, the difficulty of upgrading becomes higher and higher. Under normal circumstances, it takes at least 10 days to reach level 10, but Liu Xingchi only took 2 days. Is this the feeling of AFK leveling up? It's really great. Liu Xingchi smiled happily. There is nothing more exciting than waking up to a new level. It's so cool to be able to upgrade while hanging up. This kind of thing cannot be done in school, only in the wilderness. Liu Xingchi couldn't wait to open the skill tree interface and found 2 more skills. Static Stealth, mastery. When not actively attacking, you can make yourself and your teammates blend into the environment and enter a stealth state. Mechanical Detonation, level 3. Detonate any number of mechanical creations, causing large-scale explosion damage, causing damage to all attributes *300%. Cooldown time, 1 minute. These 2 skills are quite interesting. Liu Xingchi stroked his chin and talked to himself. It turns out that none of the mechanical commander's skills are useless. Both of these skills are god level. The significance of static concealment for summoners is self-evident. As we all know, a summoner is a one-man army with the highest ceiling among all professions. The only weakness is the summoner himself. Once he hides himself, he has no weakness. Moreover, static stealth is not just a single target skill, it can also allow teammates to enter a camouflaged state. As for the other skill, mechanical detonation, it is difficult to express its power in words. This skill is affected by all attributes, which means that the higher the overall attributes of the 4 dimensions, the greater the damage caused. The Mechanical Hound's own attributes have been comprehensively enhanced by the Cube of Infinity, and its active skill, mechanical detonation, has also been enhanced. With the combination of the two, the ultimate damage of the mechanical detonation can be imagined. In addition, the Mechanical Hound has an extremely fast movement speed, so once you are targeted, you will not be able to escape. This is not a mechanical detonation, it's a tracking nuclear bomb. This is also the first skill among the mechanical commander's many skills that has a cooldown time, which shows how powerful it is. Woof woof woof. Liu Xingchi was awakened by a dog's barking and he stood up suddenly. After moving a few rocks away, the morning sun shone through, stinging my eyes. Liu Xingchi walked out of the rock fortress and saw 2 strangers in black. Both of them were at level 20, and were obviously not candidates who came to the wilderness for training. Hey, buddy, are these your summons? The 2 of them were 10 meters away, constantly waving and greeting Liu Xingchi. As if they were afraid of the Mechanical Hound, the 2 did not get too close to each other. Liu Xingchi frowned slightly and nodded gently, "What do you want?" "Nothing much, just passing by to say hello." The man in black smiled and shook his head, then silently opened the Eye of Truth. When he found out that Liu Xingchi was only level 10, there was a hint of doubt in his eyes. "If there's nothing else, I'll leave." Liu Xingchi was wary of the 2 and prepared to leave with 3 mechanical hounds. The 2 could clearly have greeted each other in advance, but they did so only after the mechanical hound sounded the alarm. If Liu Xingchi had not given the mechanical hound an order not to actively attack humans, the 2 would probably have become 2 corpses. Maybe I'm overthinking it, but when you're alone outside, you have to be extremely cautious in everything. Friend, don't be anxious. Are you alone? Do you want to form a team? One of the men in black saw Liu Xingchi preparing to leave and hurriedly followed him. No, please stay away from me. How could Liu Xingchi not see through such obvious clichés? There must be something wrong when things go wrong. The excessive enthusiasm of the 2 people made him more wary. Seeing that Liu Xingchi refused to budge, the 2 of them had no choice but to stop. Before Liu Xingchi walked away, the smiles on their faces gradually disappeared, replaced by coldness. This is so strange. He is not on the list of geniuses, but why did he enter the wilderness at level 10, and alone? The tall man in black had a puzzled look on his face as he stared at Liu Xingchi's back. The 2 were believers of the Abyss Church who had sneaked into the wilderness, and the purpose of their trip was to hunt down human geniuses. But the wilderness is vast and they have not yet encountered anyone on the genius list. However, this does not mean that they gained nothing. During the search, they killed several human teenagers who came to train. He's just a brat who doesn't know his place. Just kill him. Why bother with him? Without saying a word, the other man in black took out a gorgeous longbow and aimed at Liu Xingchi's heart. Chapter 18. Call out. The arrow flew across the sky, shooting out with the force of breaking the wind. Liu Xing was prepared for this and he nimbly dodged the sneak attack by moving sideways. However, the arrow that had just passed by suddenly turned 180 degrees and chased after Liu Xingchi again. Tracking arrows. One of the archer's signature skills. Once locked, there is no escape. The tracking arrow is fast, but the mechanical hound is even faster. The mechanical hound leaped up suddenly and caught the flying arrow in its bite. Click! With a sudden force, the arrow was easily bitten into 2 pieces, and the mechanical hound's eyes were stained with blood. The attack just now had triggered the mechanical hound's protection mechanism, and it had already identified the 2 people as its hunting targets. Liu Xingchi's eyes were deep and he looked at the 2 of them coldly. The 2 of them couldn't help but shiver when they were stared at by Liu Xingchi. That look was so cold, as if he was looking at a dead person. This kid is not simple, be serious. The tall man in black summoned a shield and a halberd, his expression somewhat serious. I thought he was a person I could easily kill, but he turned out to be more difficult to deal with than I imagined. The other shooter was also stunned, with an incredible expression on his face. How could a mere level 9 summoned creature easily resist tracking arrows? Could it be that the mechanical hound's agility is even better than his? But the two were not scared, after all, he was just a level 10 kid. They have an absolute advantage in terms of both numbers and levels. Humph! I won't fail this time. The archer bent his bow and drew his arrow again, and the arrow condensed by his mental power emitted a strong light. He raised the longbow in his hand slightly and pulled it to the full moon. The bowstring hummed, and an arrow with even greater power shot out. The arrow kept splitting in the middle of the flight, and in the blink of an eye it split into more than a dozen arrows. Multiple tracking arrows. The archer's basic skill at level 20. Once locked, there is almost no possibility of dodging. Just when the two thought they had victory, Lu Xing suddenly disappeared from their sight. Skill activated, static hiding. Lu Xingchi completely merged into the surrounding environment, with only 3 mechanical hounds remaining in place. The tracking arrow has lost its target and can only move by inertia. Ding ding ding! The 3 mechanical hounds did not dodge at all, allowing the rain of arrows to hit them, making crisp sounds of metal colliding. Aside from a few scratches, the mechanical hound sustained little damage. There is only one way to completely kill a mechanical creature, and that is to destroy the perpetual motion engine at its heart. Otherwise, even if it is smashed to pieces, it can be quickly repaired in a machinery factory. How is that possible? The archer completely collapsed when he saw this scene. If it was luck just now, now it is real hard power. However, when scanning the mechanical hound with the eye of truth, its attributes were clearly very low. Even if you have defensive skills and cannot kill the enemy instantly, you can at least seriously injure him. Don't just stand there, that guy shouldn't have gotten far. Let's find a way to get rid of these summons first. The other man in black was relatively calm, with the shield in his left hand tinged with a faint golden glow. The golden light spread and formed a golden barrier, covering both him and the archer. One of the knight's basic skills, Holy Shield. This skill can form a shield to resist damage, and its strength is related to the knight's own physical fitness. Kill. Lu Xingchi, hiding in the dark, had a cold look in his eyes, and he had already decided to kill. No matter who these two people are, they must die here today. 3 mechanical hounds suddenly rushed towards the 2 men, and their steel claws drew a black arc in the air. Fearless charge. The knight was not willing to be outdone and came like a flash of golden lightning. The man and the dog collided violently, and the deafening sound of the collision echoed all over the place. The knight barely withstood the first wave of attacks, but after the second mechanical hound rushed over, the situation took a turn for the worse. A huge sense of oppression came over the knight, who was forced to retreat again and again, and turtle-shaped cracks appeared on the golden shield. Seeing this, the shooter immediately climbed up a high rock nearby, ready to occupy the advantageous terrain and support the battle from a distance. But unexpectedly, the third mechanical hound targeted him and leaped 7 meters high. Close combat is the shooter's weakness. Looking at the grinning mechanical hound, an indescribable fear emerged in his heart. Oink oink! The mechanical hound's attack speed was astonishing, and between the swings of its sharp steel claws, only a series of afterimages could be seen. The holy shield broke at a speed visible to the naked eye, and the fear in the shooter's eyes grew deeper and deeper. He immediately used his skill wind step to greatly increase his speed, attempting to abandon his teammates and escape. But he helplessly discovered that even with his skills, he still couldn't outrun the mechanical hound. Damn it! How could I not be able to outrun a dog? The archer watched helplessly as the holy shield was about to break, but he could do nothing. You can't fight back, and you can't run away, so all you can do is wait for death. If time could go back, he would never provoke Lu Xingchi even if he was beaten to death. It's over. Just when he was at a loss, a familiar voice came from behind him. He turned his head suddenly. A high-speed spinning red bullet enlarged in his pupils, and the burning sensation coming towards him made him completely despair. The explosive bomb hit the center of his eyebrows accurately, and a blazing flame burst out instantly, tearing it into countless pieces. After a professional dies, the items in their backpack space will fall out. Lu Xingchi was not in a hurry to pick it up, but instead set his sights on another person. Bang! Another explosive bomb completely destroyed the already shattered holy shield. Without the protection of the shield, the 2 mechanical hounds pounced forward, biting his arms tightly on the left and right. Lu Xingchi slowly raised the revolver in his hand, looked down at him with extremely cold eyes. Tell me, what is your purpose? I was wrong. If you want to kill me, just kill me. Why waste your time talking? The man in black struggled violently, but when he realized he couldn't get free, he simply lay down. If my guess is correct, you are a fanatical believer of the Abyss Church. Liu Xingchi was very familiar with the history of Daxia and naturally knew about the Abyss Church. The wilderness is a lawless place, so things like murder and robbery are likely to happen there. Most of the bloody incidents were caused by conflicts of interest, but Liu Xingchi did not provoke them at all, and he did not look like a rich kid. Apart from the cruel Abyss Church, he couldn't think of anyone who would risk being sanctioned to kill someone who had nothing to do with them. So what if you guessed it? I just can't understand why you are not on the genius list. Otherwise, I wouldn't be so careless. The man in black looked fierce and spoke with gritted teeth. He really couldn't understand why such a strong guy was not on the genius list. It really didn't make sense. If Liu Xingchi was on the genius list, he would not act rashly. If the black-clad butler were to take action personally, he would definitely be able to kill this guy. After hearing that he was not on the so-called genius list, Liu Xingchi felt relieved. At least the Abyss Church was not coming for him, it was just a spur-of-the-moment decision. Bang! Without much hesitation, Liu Xingchi pulled the trigger and the bullet hit him right in the middle of his eyebrows. With a wave of his hand, he put all the items on the ground into his bag, making the empty backpack space full in an instant. He was still worrying about how to make money to buy skill upgrade scrolls and weapons, and now someone really sent him a pillow when he was sleepy. Chapter 19. The Abyss Church has been silent for many years, but I didn't expect it to come out and cause trouble again. Looking at the dazzling array of items in the backpack, Liu Xingchi muttered to himself. Most of them were low-level potions and materials, which were obviously taken from the candidates. Most of the people targeted by the Abyss Church are so-called geniuses. They should have had a bright future, but they died inexplicably in the wilderness, which is really sad. Without staying for long, Liu Xingchi left quickly. He was not sure whether the two had any companions. If the sound of fighting alarmed the Abyss Church's large army, that would be bad. Without knowing detailed intelligence about the enemy, he would not easily put himself in danger. Liu Xingchi remained in disguise throughout the journey and only relaxed his vigilance after walking out of the barren mountains. He randomly found a towering ancient tree and climbed up, hiding himself in the dense leaves. Upgrading is the top priority, so Liu Xingchi released all the mechanical hounds first. Then open the online trading house and auction the items you just acquired. There are two trading modes in the trading house, one is fixed price and the other is limited time auction. Liu Xingchi chose a limited time auction, listing the item at the lowest market price with a time limit of 5 minutes. Your consignment item Silver Wolf Fang was auctioned successfully, and you received 5,100 gold coins. Your consignment weapon, the Refined Staff, was auctioned successfully, and you received 7,080 gold coins. 5 minutes later, the gold coins obtained from the auction were deposited into the account. The total amount of gold coins skyrocketed from more than 70,000 to more than 400,000. For Liu Xingchi, who is only at level 10, this is already a huge sum of money. It's important to upgrade your skills first. Liu Xingchi opened the trading interface and searched for the second level skill upgrade scroll. The price of a second level skill scroll is about 50,000 gold coins, which is a bit more expensive than expected. But he had to buy it no matter how expensive it was, so Liu Xingchi bought 3 at once. There are currently 3 skills that need to be upgraded, namely Explosive Bomb, Hunter, and Mechanical Factory. The Incendiary Bomb was successfully upgraded to level 3, and its power was greatly enhanced. The Hunter was promoted from a Black Iron level Mechanical Hound to a Bronze level Mechanical Hound. Black Iron grade Mechanical Hounds, with levels ranging from 5 to 9. Bronze level Mechanical Hounds, ranging in level from 10 to 14. As its skills improved, the level of the Mechanical Hound kept pace with Liu Xingchi and reached level 10. Although it has been upgraded to a Bronze level Mechanical Hound, it does not mean that the Mechanical Hound has turned bronze in color. Its color remains inky black, but the material has become harder and the weight has increased a lot. The first 2 skills were upgraded smoothly, but when upgrading the Mechanical Factory, it failed. Oh my god, there is still an 80% chance of failure. Are you kidding me? The success rate of the second level skill upgrade scroll is not 100%, but 80%. There was no other way, Liu Xingchi could only grit his teeth and buy another upgrade scroll. This time, we finally did not fail, and the Mechanical Factory was successfully upgraded to level 3. The maximum storage capacity of mechanical creations has been increased from 5 to 10. With the hidden special effects of the Rubik's Cube, the maximum storage capacity has skyrocketed to 100. This is the case when the weapons have not been upgraded. Once the level 15 weapons are deduced, the number will increase to an astonishing 150. Quantitative change will lead to qualitative change, and the mechanical army has begun to take shape. Finally I can get rid of the white weapons. Liu Xingchi began to search for the level 15 rune energy pistol and finally saw a blue quality weapon. Not only do blue quality weapons have significantly improved attributes, they also look much better and provide more choices. After choosing for a while, Liu Xingchi finally bought a magic revolver called Blade Runner. It's really troublesome that there are no blueprints for low-level weapons. The key to deducing and replicating a weapon is to know its mechanical structure, and weapon blueprints can also do this. However, weapons below level 20 are considered low-level weapons, and there are no weapon blueprints yet. You have to wait until you reach level 20 or above before you can get blueprints for weapons of purple quality or above. There are even some artifacts that have design drawings, but cannot be produced because the relevant materials are out of print. 70,000 is not too expensive. Liu Xingchi gritted his teeth and bought the blue weapon, playing with it out of curiosity. The Blade Runner has a very design-oriented appearance, with its body plated in silver and a silver wing design on the magazine. Using this talisman revolver in the dark is like silver wings dancing in the darkness. The handle is made of carbon fiber, feels smooth to the touch, and seems to be integrated with your body when you hold it tightly. Click, click, click. Without playing with it for too long, Liu Xingchi quickly dismantled the Blade Runner. First, initialize the Rubik's Cube, and then start trying to deduce and replicate Blade Runner. The blue weapon is much more complicated than the white weapon. Liu Xingchi tried twice before he successfully replicated it. As Liu Xingchi's level increases, his deductive ability becomes stronger and stronger, and he can split the Rubik's Cube into more modules. Therefore, the replica of Blade Runner has a slightly more refined appearance. If you look at it from a distance, you can't see any clues, but if you look closely, you can't get rid of the first impression that it is a toy gun. Liu Xingchi opened the equipment column and checked the main weapon information: main weapon, Blade Runner, Rubik's Cube, quality, blue type, rune pistol attributes, strength plus 300, intelligence plus 300, agility plus 300, constitution plus 300 level, 15 effect, attack Lord monsters to gain 5% damage bonus hidden special effect, unique all skill effects are amplified by 15 times, amplification factor equals weapon level times 100%, unlike white equipment, most blue equipment comes with its own weapon. Effects. Blade Runner has a 5% bonus to Overlord damage, which is better than nothing. It was mainly the huge improvement in attributes that allowed Liu Xingchi's attributes to reach a height that was unattainable for professionals of the same level. After confirming that there were no problems with the weapon's attributes and effects, Liu Xingchi opened the personal attribute interface. Name, Liu Xingchi. Occupation, Mechanical Commander, only 1, level, 10 strength, 450 plus 300 intelligence, 450 plus 300 agility, 450 plus 300 physique, 450 plus 300 main weapon, Blade Runner, Rubik's Cube, Professional Talent, Quantum Link passive skills, Mechanical Factory, Level 3, Perpetual Motion Engine, Mastery, Active Skills, Precision Shooting. Normal Attack, Stalker, Level 3, Explosive Bomb, Level 3, Recall, Mastery, Static Stealth, Mastery, Mechanical Detonation, Level 3. Liu Xingchi looked at the upgraded attributes and nodded with satisfaction. With a 15-fold increase, the Mechanical Hound's attributes have reached an appalling level, enough for him to walk sideways in the first wilderness isolation zone. Chapter 20. 100 Mechanical Hounds are really a headache. After closing the personal attribute interface, Liu Xingchi immediately started working on filling up the machinery factory. The storage capacity of the mechanical factory suddenly increased to 150. Apart from the 50 already available, there were still a full 100 that needed to be summoned. As the hunter's skill level increases, the mental energy required for summoning also increases. However, Liu Xingchi's intelligence attribute is not low, and he also has a level 15 blue weapon, so he is not under too much pressure. Without using mental recovery potions, you can summon 10 mechanical hounds before your mental power is exhausted. After a simple estimate, with the help of mental recovery potion, it will take about 3 hours. As the saying goes, sharpening the knife does not delay the chopping of wood. Filling up the machinery factory is also for faster upgrading. Gurgle. Liu Xingchi drank a bottle of mental potion in one gulp, and then began to summon the mechanical hound step by step. The mechanical hounds jumped down from the trees one after another and soon disappeared into the vast forest. The forest coverage area is extremely exaggerated. It is one of the largest forests in the wilderness isolation area, far beyond the Shadow Rat territory. Most of the monsters living in the forest are beastmen, and their levels are roughly around level 20. Due to the rugged terrain and low monster density, not many people are willing to enter this area to level up. This actually helped Liu Xingchi, as he could enjoy the resources of the entire forest alone. The attributes of the mechanical hound have reached an appalling level, with both its physique and strength reaching 11,250. Especially the agility has exceeded 20,000. Such exaggerated agility makes the mechanical hound move at an incredibly fast speed, like a flash of black mountain lightning passing by. Many monsters active in the forest didn't even have time to see the attacker's appearance clearly, they only saw a dark shadow approaching. The black shadow flashed past like lightning without stopping, and the monster's body was instantly torn into pieces. The iron claws turned into the scythe in the hands of the god of death, and every time it fell, it would take away life. The power gap was so huge that the monster died without any pain at all. Kill the Grey Demon Bear and gain 1980 experience points. Kill the Shadow Leopard and gain 2110 experience points. Congratulations on your level upgrade, current level is LV11. In less than 3 hours, Liu Xingchi advanced to level 11. The mechanical hound also completed its upgrade at the same time, and its already lightning-fast speed was further increased. Call. Liu Xingchi exhaled a breath of turbid air and wiped the sweat from his forehead. Finally, the machinery factory is full. In just 3 hours, he drank nearly 10 bottles of mental potions in a row, and even he found it a bit too much. There is no time to rest. It is more important to find a wild copy as soon as possible. Ordinary monsters in the wild can no longer satisfy Liu Xingchi's appetite. His purpose of coming to the wilderness quarantine area was not to kill little monsters in the wild. Wild dungeons are his main purpose, and challenging dungeons is the fastest way to level up, no doubt about it. Ding! Mechanical Hound number 48 encountered an emergency, please issue a disposal order. Suddenly, an electronic sound rang in Liu Xingchi's mind. An emergency. Liu Xingchi was also a little confused. This was the first time he encountered such a situation. All the mechanical hounds are in tune with Liu Xingchi and execute all his orders 100%. The order he issued was to hunt down all monsters and not to attack humans. Once someone attacks it, it needs to wait for his consent before it can fight back. There is no way. The destructive power of the mechanical hound is too terrifying. Once it attacks, it will either kill or injure. We still have to be careful. Consciousness link. Liu Xingchi slowly closed his eyes and connected himself with Mechanical Hound number 48. In this way, the Mechanical Hound is completely controlled by him, so he can naturally know exactly what is happening. The meaning was connected, and the world in Liu Xingchi's eyes also underwent earth-shaking changes. This was his first time connecting with common sense consciousness, and it was a little difficult for him to adapt to it for a while. Before he could react, a huge fireball fell from the sky. Liu Xingchi didn't have time to react and was hit by the fireball. The scorching heat actually burned the surface of the Mechanical Hound red, and it was obvious that it had suffered severe damage. The Mechanical Hound's physique is as high as over 10,000. Anyone who can damage it must be very powerful. Liu Xingchi reacted quickly, glanced around, and found that there were actually more than a dozen people. This is obviously a mature team, with all 8 basic professions included. The leader was a wizard wearing a black robe, his entire face hidden under a hood, making it difficult to see clearly. The Mechanical Hound does not have a true eye and cannot scan this person's level information. However, judging from the fact that he injured the Mechanical Hound with one move, he might have reached level 30. A wise man never suffers a loss in front of him. There are no other Mechanical Hounds nearby, so if we confront them head-on, we will definitely suffer a loss. The Mechanical Hound scanned the area and selected the nearest warrior as an entry point. The black-clad warrior was startled and rushed forward, swinging his huge sword. Whirlwind. It's all fancy. Liu Xingchi laughed secretly, and the speed of the Mechanical Hound he controlled increased again. In the eyes of the highly agile Mechanical Hound, the whirlwind slash that the black-clad warrior was proud of seemed as slow as a snail. The Mechanical Hound suddenly opened its bloody mouth and bit the sword blade. Click! With such sudden force, the giant sword was bitten into 2 pieces in the middle. Go to hell! The mechanical hound used the black warrior as a stepping stone and stepped directly on his face with its hind legs. With a sudden effort, he leaped onto a towering tree nearby. The terrifying force made the black-clad warrior look like he was hit by a dump truck, with half of his head buried in the ground. Swish, swish, swish. The mechanical hound turned into a black lightning and jumped back and forth relying on the adjacent towering trees. Such a charming movement made the two archers stunned. Hundreds of arrows, but not a single one could hit the mechanical hound. You can't run away. The person who spoke was the black-robed wizard, who slammed the ground with his staff. A huge black staff spread out, and the sky and earth were covered with a thin layer of frost. Breath of frost. The mage's signature deceleration skill uses ultra-low temperatures to slow down the enemy. But he miscalculated. The mechanical hound could not sense the cold, and there was no blood flowing in its body. Breath of frost has absolutely no effect on it. How is that possible? The black-robed wizard's expression could not be seen, but his astonishment could be seen from his body language. He really couldn't figure it out, it was just an 11th level summon. How come he could withstand the successive attacks from the fireballs and breath of frost and still look so full of energy? Why are you still standing there? Hurry up and chase after him. Seeing that the mechanical hound was about to disappear from sight, the black-robed wizard roared at the two assassins not far away. As a mage, movement speed is not his forte, and he knows that he will not be able to catch up. Chapter 21. Yes, sir. The two assassins knew they couldn't catch up, but they didn't dare to disobey the black-robed wizard's orders. He immediately activated all skills that could increase his movement speed and turned into two black shadows to chase after them. They were just pretending and didn't really chase the mechanical hound. What a joke! The boss can't do anything to the mechanical hound, leaving us to die. 3 minutes later, the two assassins came back panting. Your Excellency the Deacon, let that piece of iron run away. You useless thing! You can't even catch up with an 11th level summon. The black-robed wizard was shaking with anger. Since becoming the black-robed butler of the Abyss Church, he had never been treated like this. A team of more than a dozen people failed to catch a level 11 summoned beast. No one would believe it if they told others about it. Could it be a genius on the genius list? The black-robed wizard fell into deep thought, and kept recalling the information on the genius list in his mind. There are legendary summoning professionals on the genius list, but there are none related to mechanical creations. But it doesn't matter whether it exists or not, even if it does, he can't do anything about it. An 11th level mechanical creature has caused them to panic. What will happen if it encounters the real person? Don't tell anyone about this. Just pretend you haven't seen it. Do you hear me? The black-robed wizard said in a deep voice. Yes. Everyone nodded in unison. Even if the black-robed wizard didn't say it, they were too embarrassed to tell anyone. The elite team of the Abyss Church was unable to do anything to a dog. It is so embarrassing. How can I survive in the Abyss Church after the secret is leaked out? Retreat. After encountering the mechanical hound, the black-robed wizard felt even more uneasy. The fire department army sent by Daxia to encircle them had already caused them heavy losses, with only a dozen of them escaping out of more than 100 people. After finally escaping to a remote forest, he thought he was safe, but unexpectedly he encountered an even more evil mechanical hound. Fortunately, the primary task assigned by the High Priest has been completed, and he can now hand it in. The group did not rush to leave the forest, but walked towards a hidden cave. Little did they know that there was a small tail behind the big group. After escaping the encirclement, the mechanical hound didn't go far at all. Xingchi has already guessed the identity of this group of people. They are definitely the remnants of the Abyss Church. Xingchi already hated the Abyss Church, but the reason why he pursued it relentlessly was not for the so-called justice. They just wanted to wipe out the root of the problem. After all, they saw the mechanical hound. It would be troublesome if the clues led to him. It's not that he was afraid of the Abyss Church, but he didn't want to be targeted by them before he was fully grown. Of course, Xingchi also wanted to make some money from this group of people, and he spent almost all his money on buying skill scrolls and weapons. The mechanical hounds distributed in all directions are approaching mechanical hound number 48. After discovering that the remnants of the Abyss Church had entered a secret cave, there were already more than a dozen mechanical hounds behind the mechanical hound. Instead of acting rashly, in order to ensure victory in one fell swoop, Xingchi prepared to gather the mechanical army. From deep within the secret cave, there was a sound of iron chains rubbing against each other. A woman in white was imprisoned inside, with her hands and feet bound with iron chains. She has long jet black hair that falls on her snow-white priest robe. The black and white are distinct, and she is beautiful and moving. Her face was covered with dust, but it still couldn't hide her extraordinary beauty. Stop struggling. How can a priest like you break free from the soul-binding chains? A cold voice echoed in the cramped cave, and a black-robed wizard led a group of people over. What exactly do you want? The voice of the woman in white was very pleasant, like the sound of clear spring water. I don't want anything, I just want you to go back and be a saint, that's all. The black-robed wizard sneered and said lightly. Don't even think about it, you might as well kill me now. The woman in white clenched her fists so tightly that her palms turned pale. When she thought about being captured by the Abyss Church and becoming a saint, she wished she could kill herself. But with her hands and feet tightly bound, she didn't even have the right to choose to die. Jiangxiu, you are the only one on the genius list who must be captured alive. I dare not kill you. The black-robed wizard shook his head, his eyes full of mockery. I have to say that Jiangxiu is truly stunningly beautiful. If the Pope had not personally ordered her to be a saint, he would have been unable to resist kissing her. Don't dream. It's useless even if you catch me. I will never do anything for you even if I die. Jiangxiu frowned, looking as if she was ready to die. It would be better for her to die and be done with it than to let her work for a bunch of rats hiding in the gutter. Once you enter the Abyss Church, nothing can be decided by you. The black-robed wizard sneered, looked back, and said sternly, Come here, untie the saint lady. Click. A mechanical sound was heard, and a pair of scarlet eyes emerged in the dark cave. Who? The black-robed wizard roared angrily, and a wisp of flame rose in his palm. The blazing firelight illuminated the dim cave, and it was then clear that it was the mechanical hound that had escaped earlier. How dare you catch up with it? Kill it. The black-robed wizard was startled, but not scared. The mechanical hound is indeed difficult to deal with, but just one of them is not to be feared, and the narrow cave can also limit its speed advantage. As soon as the words fell, pairs of blood-red eyes suddenly appeared behind mechanical hound number 48. There are so many of them, there are hundreds of pairs of blood eyes. Click, click, click. More than 100 mechanical hounds advanced forward, making creepy mechanical sounds. Especially in a quiet and narrow cave, tiny movements are infinitely magnified. How come there are so many? The black-robed wizard was frightened and broke out in a cold sweat, and subconsciously took 2 steps back. Clang! The other dozen or so people were even more terrified, and some were so scared that they dropped their weapons. They had just witnessed the power of the mechanical hounds, and just one of them left them helpless. It is hard to imagine how terrifying it would be if these 100 or so mechanical hounds attacked together. What's even worse is that the only exit in the cave is blocked by an army of mechanical hounds. Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh! The mechanical army continued to advance, scaring the fanatical believers into retreating again and again. The feeling of oppression is so strong that it makes people completely unable to resist. They retreated to the end of the cave and stopped helplessly. It's over. It's over. I'm dead. The team of more than a dozen people was in chaos, wishing they could stick to the wall. Don't panic, there might still be a glimmer of hope. The black-robed wizard was relatively calm, but he himself did not quite believe what he said. If there had not been a raid by the Daxia army, there might have been a possibility of confrontation. But now, with only a dozen of them, they have absolutely no chance of winning. Chapter 22. Woof. At the command of Mechanical Hound number 48, more than 100 mechanical hounds pounced forward. Faced with the huge gap, the fanatical believers were helpless. Relying on survival instinct, he raised his weapon and used his skills recklessly. Help! Help! Nothing could stop the iron claws, whether it was a shield or flesh and blood, it made no difference, everything was torn into countless pieces. The scene was extremely bloody, and the cave seemed like a hell on earth. The shrill screams were endless, and the sounds of flesh and bones breaking were intertwined. Only the black-robe wizard has a certain ability to protect himself, relying on the high-level magic shield and the powerful resist fire ring skill. The fire resist ring had a knockback effect, and the flames that continued to spread outwards knocked the mechanical hounds that pounced on them away again and again. But this was just a last-ditch struggle. Once the other fanatical believers were dealt with, more than 100 mechanical hounds rushed forward and could not resist the fire ring. Mechanical Hound number 48, as the commander controlled by Xingchi himself, has not taken any action. He just observed coldly, his eyes revealing a light of wisdom that was not as cold as a machine. It's really troublesome that we don't have a long-range attack method. Xingchi stared at the black-robed wizard and muttered to himself. If he was at the scene, he could use explosive bombs to break the magic shield. I wonder if there will be any mechanical creations in the future that are good at long-range attacks. Xingchi shook his head, drove away the distracting thoughts in his mind, and looked at Jiangxiu beside him. He had never seen this person before, but since he was treated specially by the Abyss Church, his identity must be extraordinary. Since we happened to encounter it, there is no reason to just stand by and watch him die. Besides, he heard clearly the conversation between Jiangxiu and the black-robed wizard just now. He would rather die than be involved in corruption with the Abyss Church. This kind of integrity is worthy of admiration. Mechanical Hound number 48, controlled by Xingchi, leaped lightly in front of Jiangxiu. Jiangxiu stared blankly at everything that happened in the cave, and seemed unable to react. She was unexpectedly rescued by a group of mechanical dogs, and the remnants of the Abyss Church were beaten without any chance of resistance. If you didn't see it with your own eyes, no one would believe it if you told them. Click, click, click. The mechanical hound took a look and carefully put its head towards the foot shackles. With its powerful bite force, it can easily break the shackles. Jiangxiu knew that the mechanical hound was trying to save her, so she cooperated very well and did not struggle at all. All 4 shackles were bitten into pieces, and Jiangxiu felt her whole body go limp and she collapsed to the ground. In order to force her to submit, the Abyss Church has not given her food and water for 3 days. She has been able to hold on until now only because of her strong willpower. Thanks. Jiangxiu was still very weak. She struggled to stand up and bowed to the mechanical hound to express her gratitude. Woof woof woof. Run. Xingchi subconsciously wanted to speak, but through the mechanical hound it turned into a barking sound. There was no other way but to use his steel claws to carve the word run on the floor. Looking at the words on the floor, Jiangxiu also understood that there must be someone controlling the mechanical hound behind the scenes. Good. Jiangxiu nodded, held on to the wall with both hands, and tried to move towards the cave entrance. But she was too weak, and even if she tried her best, she still moved as slowly as a snail. Woof woof woof. You are too slow. I'll carry you. Unable to bear it any longer, the mechanical hound jumped in front of Jiangxiu and barked twice. This time there was no need for translation. Jiangxiu understood Xingchi's intention and cooperated by lying on the back of the mechanical hound. The bronze-level mechanical hound has reached a height of nearly 1.2 meters, so it can easily carry a person. When the black-robed wizard saw that Jiangxiu was about to be rescued, his expression became extremely crazy. Stop, put down the saint. Suddenly, a pitch-black magic crystal appeared in his hand, emitting an evil aura that made people shudder. This item is the Abyss Magic Crystal. The black-robed wizard has worked for the Abyss Church for many years, but he only got this small piece of low-level magic crystal. The Abyss Magic Crystal can allow the user to temporarily obtain forbidden power, and only those above the deacon level are eligible to obtain it. He never thought that he would use it to deal with a group of mechanical dogs today, but he had no other choice now. Once the saint is rescued, even if he survives and returns alive, the high priest will kill him. He was well aware of the cruel methods of the Abyss Church. Rather than being tortured to death, it was better to fight to the death. Bang! The black-robed wizard suddenly crushed the Abyss Magic Crystal in his hand, and a terrifying force burst out instantly. An ominous aura of the Abyss enveloped the black-robed wizard, and dark magic patterns continued to spread on his skin. The originally crimson flame halo turned into inky black. Both the power and range have more than doubled. Not only that, the aura of the black-robed wizard continued to grow stronger, and a terrifying sense of oppression filled the entire cave. Oh no, that's the Abyss Magic Crystal. Jiangxiu recognized it at a glance and her pupils suddenly contracted. Mechanical Hound number 48 looked back, but did not take it seriously and ran towards the cave exit without looking back. Carrying a person slowed down the Mechanical Hound a little, but it was still extremely fast. Where are you running to? Seeing that Jiangxiu was about to disappear from his sight, the black-robed wizard chased after her like crazy. Hundreds of mechanical hounds rushed forward and blocked the black-robed wizard's way. Get lost! The black-robed wizard went completely insane, and the ring of resistance fire exploded. The power of the pitch-black fire wave was so terrifying that more than 100 mechanical hounds were all blown away. However, it was only blown away. Even with the fire resistance ring blessed by the breath of the abyss, it still could not completely kill the mechanical hound. Without further entanglement, the black-robed wizard turned into a black shadow and rushed straight towards the exit of the cave. Interesting. Although Xingchi was not at the scene, all the mechanical hounds were his eyes and ears, so they naturally knew what happened in the cave. The Abyss Demon Crystal is indeed terrifying, and it actually allows the black-robed wizard to have the capital to fight against the mechanical army. However, if it is a protracted war, the black-robed wizard is still no match. I was worried that there would be no one to test the machine detonation, so today I'll use you as a test case. Xingchi, who was hiding in the dark, muttered to himself with a slight smile on his face. The mechanical army that followed closely behind the black-robed wizard disappeared almost instantly. This is Xingchi using the recall skill to teleport it back to the machinery factory. Only 2 mechanical hounds were left chasing, just in the range of the fire ring, like maggots on the tarsal bone. The mechanical sound behind him weakened, and the black-robed wizard naturally noticed it and looked back curiously. Humph, the duration has finally expired. God help me. The black-robed wizard didn't think much about it and just thought that the time limit for summoning the creature had expired. After all, it is common sense that summoned creatures have a time limit, and it is beyond common sense for the mechanical hound to fight for such a long time. Little did people know that Xingchi possessed a passive skill called Perpetual Motion Engine, which allowed all his mechanical creations to be free from time limits. The nearest mechanical hound suddenly launched an attack and leaped forward like an arrow. Chapter 23. You don't know your own limitations. The black-robed wizard sneered, and the ring of fire resistance surrounding his body exploded. Without any surprise, the first mechanical hound was knocked away by the black fire wave. Immediately afterwards, the second mechanical hound rushed out to resist the fire ring which had just erupted and was still in the contraction stage. The frequency of resisting the spread of the fire ring is very high, with only a gap of almost half a second. For ordinary people, half a second is useless and resisting the fire ring is almost invulnerable. But for a mechanical hound with an agility of more than 20,000, half a second is enough for it to get close. Ding ding ding! The mechanical hound emitted a high-frequency alarm sound, and the perpetual motion engine in its heart emitted a blazing flame. The violent energy is constantly compressing and accumulating, causing violent fluctuations in the surrounding space. The black-robed wizard was shocked and turned around suddenly. Boom! The mechanical hound exploded with a loud bang, and the light in front of him was so blinding that he couldn't open his eyes. The devastating explosion spread out, engulfing everything within a 30-meter radius. What magic shield, what fire-resisting ring! In the face of the terrifying destructive power of the mechanical explosion, everything turned into paper. The black-robed wizard had no time to react at all, and his entire body vaporized on the spot. Then the entire cave began to collapse, and all the sins were buried under the huge rocks and sand. Gurgle. When Xingchi saw the ruins filled with smoke, she was so surprised that she couldn't speak clearly. With such horrific destructive power, the black-robed wizard would surely be completely destroyed. After seeing the power of the mechanical detonation, Mechanical Hound number 48 slowly turned around. The explosion range of about 30 meters was far beyond Xingchi's expectations. In fact, even if you don't get close, the mechanical detonation can easily kill the black-robed wizard. Such a loud noise might attract people with bad intentions, so Xingchi did not stay there for long. The mechanical hound carried Xingchi and rushed for several kilometers before stopping at a pond. Gently placing Xingchi on a piece of soft grass, the mechanical hound dived into the pool of water nearby. Where are you going? Xingchi was confused and struggled to crawl to the edge of the pond. Looking at the clear pool of water, I couldn't help but scoop up some water with both hands and drink it in big gulps. She hadn't eaten or drunk anything for 3 days and was extremely hungry and thirsty. The space in her backpack had long been looted by the people of the Abyss Church, leaving her with nothing but a compressed biscuit. After solving the thirst problem, Xingchi also recovered some strength. Looking at herself covered in dust in the water, Xingchi frowned. She just turned 18 this year and is at the age when she cares most about her appearance. How could she tolerate looking unkempt? Crash! Xingchi used water as a mirror and used the clean water to remove the dust on her face, revealing her fair skin. Suddenly, the mechanical hound jumped out of the pool with a lively fish in its mouth. Looking at Xingchi, whose face was still wet with water stains, like a frightened deer, the mechanical hound was also stunned. The light in the cave was dim just now, and Xingchi was covered in dust, so he couldn't see her face clearly. It was not until Jiangxu washed her face that he could see her true appearance. It was a standard oval face, with skin as white as snow and eyebrows as beautiful as a crescent moon. The blue eyes are crystal clear, as if the blue water is reflecting the color of the sky. Her every move is graceful and elegant, as graceful and tranquil as a white swan. No wonder the Abyss Church tried every means to capture Jiangxu, not to mention her talent. This stunning beauty alone is likely to attract many people to join the Abyss Church. A beautiful blush appeared on Jiangxu's face, and she lowered her head shyly. So you went fishing? Woof. Eat. The mechanical hound threw the fish in front of Jiangxu and spoke subconsciously. Thanks. Jiangxu thanked him softly and picked up the fish. I randomly found a sharp stone on the shore and simply processed the fish. The processed fish is cleaned with the help of pond water and then cut into fillets in an orderly manner. This is clearly a bloody scene, but in Jiangxu's eyes it seems like a different style of painting. Everything seems quiet and peaceful. It feels like I am not killing, but saving souls. The mechanical hound watched Jiangxu from the side, and after making sure that she had recovered her mobility, it turned around slowly. Xingchi rescued Jiangxu only out of moral obligation, and he had done his utmost to this extent. After confirming that the other person's life was not in danger, he was ready to leave. He doesn't need teammates will only slow down his upgrade speed. Where are you going? Jiangxu was a little anxious and stood up immediately. The mechanical hound kept walking and showed no intention of turning back. My name is Jiangxu. Can you tell me your name? Jiangxu chased after him. Seeing that Jiangxu was still pestering him, the mechanical hound quickened its pace. With an agility of 20,000 and running at full speed, there was no way Jiangxu could catch up with him. The distance between them was getting bigger and bigger. Seeing the mechanical hound about to disappear from sight, Jiangxu shouted at the top of her voice, "There is a wild dungeon site 50 miles to the east." The mechanical hound stopped only after completely getting rid of Jiangxu. After disconnecting the consciousness connection, Xingchi recovered mechanical hound number 48 into the mechanical factory. More than 10 miles away, on a towering tree, Xingchi slowly opened his eyes. There is a wild dungeon site 50 miles to the east. After hearing Jiangxu's last words, Xingchi couldn't help feeling a little conflicted. Because he awakened too late, he missed an important lecture at school, resulting in him knowing nothing about the wilderness map. The forest where Xingchi is located is called the Misty Forest. Normally, no one would choose this place as a leveling point. It is precisely because of this that the Abyss Church chose the Misty Forest as its base. I didn't expect that Xingchi, a young and inexperienced guy, would accidentally stumble into here. Jiangxu is also very smart. Based on this little information, she deduced that Xingchi was a newbie and specifically pointed out the nearest copy point. There's not much time left, so I'll have to go there. If he had a choice, Xingchi didn't want to go to the copy point pointed out by Jiangxu. But there is really no better choice now. He doesn't have much time left and should not waste it on looking for wild copies. Damn it! I feel like I'm being controlled. Xingchi frowned and muttered softly, she won't go to the dungeon to find me, right? But thinking that Jiangxu had never seen him, as long as the mechanical hound was put away, she would definitely not recognize him. Let's sell the spoils first. Xingchi had gained a lot from the battle just now, and his backpack was full again. These spoils were all retrieved by mechanical hounds. Unfortunately, after the black-robed wizard died, the cave collapsed completely and all of his death drops were buried under the ruins. Xingchi is not in a hurry to use the money now, so he sets the auction time to 12 hours. This way it can be sold at a good price. After all, who would complain about having too much money? After completing the consignment of all the spoils, Xingchi set off for the outdoor copy point in the east. While hurrying on the road, Xingchi released all the mechanical hounds. The mechanical hounds spread out in all directions, killing any monsters they encountered along the way. No matter how small a fly is, it is still meat, so we shouldn't waste time on our journey. Chapter 24. Nearly 4 hours later, Xingchi finally arrived at the wild copy site. Relying on the scattered monsters along the way, Xingchi is about to break through to level 12th. Not far away there is a huge space vortex, the scale of which is far beyond the school's copy crystal. The vortex in the wild copy exudes a wild atmosphere that can be sensed even from hundreds of meters away. As soon as he arrived at the outskirts of the wild dungeon, Xingchi heard noisy shouting. Ordinary dungeon, Any priest, veteran team. A difficult dungeon in need of a powerful warlock. Don't come here if you are just a nobody. We are a professional mercenary group, with fair prices and no cheating. Is there any boss who needs us? Ignoring the noisy environment, Xingchi walked straight towards the copy vortex. In order not to reveal his identity, he did not allow the mechanical hound to follow. Even so, Xingchi's arrival still attracted a lot of people's attention. There was nothing that could be done about it. A level 11 rookie actually came to a level 20 wild dungeon alone. It's like a little lamb falling into a pack of wolves. It's hard not to attract attention. What's wrong with this kid? How dare he come to a level 20 dungeon at level 11? I don't know. Even if it's a legendary profession, at least there will be teammates following you, right? He's probably just a young fool. He's lucky to be here alive. Everyone was talking about it, and their curious eyes fell on Xingchi. Xingchi, who was alone, quickly attracted the attention of many mercenary groups. The so-called mercenary group's profession is to lead people through dungeons in order to earn gold coins. A man in gorgeous golden armor stopped in front of Xingchi and said with a smile, "Friend, I am the deputy leader of the Greedy Wolf mercenary group. Are you interested?" "Thank you. I don't have any money, and I don't plan to form a team." Without waiting for the other party to finish speaking, Xingchi interrupted him. Not to mention that the mercenary group charges a high fee, he would not even want it even if they could help him pass the level for free. Teaming up will only take away his experience and slow down his upgrade speed. While the man in golden armor was still not able to react, Xingchi quickly bypassed him. "It's quite interesting. Are all the young people nowadays so crazy?" Seeing Xingchi preparing for a solo challenge, the man in golden armor looked incredulous. The Greedy Wolf mercenary group is in the first isolation zone and is one of the top mercenary groups. If ordinary people don't have some connections, they may not be able to be invited. If it weren't for the unrest in the first isolation zone in recent days, the Abyss Church would have been doing evil everywhere. Many well-informed pre-examination candidates have left the quarantine area to avoid the limelight, so he doesn't have to go around recruiting people. I didn't expect that after finally meeting a high-quality client, I would be turned down. "Captain, what should we do now?" someone from the Greedy Wolf mercenary group asked. The man in golden armor touched his chin and said, "Let's follow him and see why this guy is so arrogant. He has been in the wilderness isolation area for such a long time that he has seen all kinds of talented young people. Even if it was a legendary profession, he had witnessed its charm. But no one is as arrogant as Xingchi. Not to mention challenging the dungeon of a higher level, he even did it alone." Xingchi passed through the crowded periphery and finally saw the wild copy vortex up close. But if you look down, you can see a long queue under the vortex of the copy. "Ah! I didn't expect that even in the wilderness, I still couldn't escape the queue." Xingchi sighed and then walked to the end of the team. The outdoor dungeon is much more resilient than the dungeon crystal and can accommodate 100 teams challenging at the same time. Even though the line looks quite long, it won't be long before it's his turn. The deputy leader of the Greedy Wolf mercenary group followed closely behind Xingchi. The waiting time was not wasted either, as the mechanical hound was still hunting monsters everywhere, and experience points and loot were constantly being credited. They were queuing in an orderly manner, but suddenly someone cut in front of Xingchi. Xingchi couldn't help but find it a little funny. There were actually people who treated him as a soft persimmon. He patted the person in front of him on the shoulder and said coldly, "Don't cut in line, go to the back." The fat man turned his head and glanced at Xingchi, his eyes full of contempt. "Little brat, you are wasting everyone's resources. Go home and drink milk. Give your seat to me. Are you sure you don't want to?" There was a hint of murderous intent in Xingchi's eyes. The man who cut in line was startled by Xingchi's eyes and subconsciously looked away. Eyes are the windows to the soul, and you can see a person's inner world through his eyes. Xingchi's eyes were extremely cold, filled with the pressure of a superior. Could this kid have killed anyone? A terrible idea came to the man's mind, but he quickly rejected it. How could a freshman candidate really kill someone? "So what if I don't let you? Do you still want to fight with me?" The fat man gritted his teeth and shouted. The conversation between the two attracted the attention of many people, and they began to whisper and discuss. The man who cut in line was also a person who cared a lot about his reputation. If he let others know that he was scared away by a young boy, how would he survive in the wilderness in the future? Xingchi smiled and nodded, and a light suddenly appeared in his right hand. Of course he couldn't kill anyone in public, but he could certainly seriously injure the person. Get lost! You are blind, how dare you mess with my friend? Just as Xingchi was about to take action, a familiar voice suddenly came from behind him. Looking back, he realized that it was the deputy leader of the Greedy Wolf mercenary group who had invited him before. I'm sorry, I didn't know he was your friend. I'll get out of here right now. The fat man felt as if he had been pardoned and happily slid to the end of the line. Thank you. Xingchi nodded to the person behind him. No need to thank me. In fact, it's that guy who should be thanked. The man in golden armor smiled and said softly. Just a moment ago, he clearly felt the murderous aura emanating from Xingchi. After living in the wilderness for many years, he was extremely sensitive to murderous intent and there was absolutely no way he could be wrong. To others, it seemed that he was helping Xingchi, but in fact he was giving the fat man an opportunity to surrender. Otherwise, once Xingchi takes action, the fat man will definitely suffer a great loss. Even if he doesn't die, he will probably lose a layer of skin. Are you guys in the Greedy Wolf mercenary group all free? Xingchi turned around and asked calmly. What I mean is, are you guys just bored? Why do you mind your own business? The man in golden armor shook his head. We are usually very busy, especially on the eve of the joint entrance examination. It's just that the wilderness has been uneasy these days, so there is not much business. It won't be long before you're busy. The remnants of the Abyss Church have been eradicated, but the news has not yet spread. But it shouldn't take too long. The mechanical detonation made such a loud noise that the Daxia officials should have noticed it. I hope so. The man in golden armor didn't understand the hidden meaning and continued, let me introduce myself. My name is Shen Kuo, the deputy leader of the Greedy Wolf mercenary group. Chapter 25. Xingchi. The other party has already revealed his identity, so hiding it would seem stingy. Xingchi, what a nice name. Shen Kuo nodded thoughtfully, we are destined to meet each other. I can help you clear the difficult dungeon since I have nothing to do. As if he had thought of something, Shen Kuo added, don't worry, it's free. No, I'm used to being alone. Xingchi didn't think twice and decisively rejected the other party's invitation. If time wasn't a concern, he wouldn't mind teaming up with others. But the situation is special now and every minute and every second cannot be wasted. All right. Shen Kuo's face was full of black lines, and he didn't know what to say for a moment. This was the first time he was rejected repeatedly, and the key point was that it was free. Xingchi was also a little embarrassed. He could see that Shen Kuo was a kind-hearted person. Not only did he help him avoid a pointless fight, he also offered to upgrade him for free. If the timing wasn't wrong, he probably wouldn't have refused. After all, when you are out, more friends mean more options, not to mention that Shen Kuo is the second in command of the top hunting group. By the way, what exactly is this wild copy? Xingchi wanted to ease the atmosphere and asked proactively. The reason I came here was just because of Jiangxiu's guidance. However, Jiangxiu did not mention the name of this wild copy, so Xingchi naturally had no way of knowing it. Ah! This question confused Shen Kuo. You don't even know what copy it is, but you dare to challenge it alone? How big is this kid's heart? Shen Kuo took a deep breath and tried to calm his fluctuating emotions. This wild dungeon is called the Boneyard, and the monsters inside are mainly undead. What's the highest difficulty? Xingchi continued to ask. The highest difficulty is the difficult level. Shen Kuo answered truthfully, and kindly reminded, if you really plan to complete the game alone, it's best to choose the normal level. Understood. Xingchi nodded thoughtfully. Of course he wanted to challenge the highest difficulty. In his eyes, there was not much difference between the normal level and the difficult level. Before he knew it, there were only a few teams left in front of Xingchi. Suddenly, the vortex of the copy emitted a golden light, which was the golden light that would appear when the copy record was broken. Oh my god! Someone broke the dungeon record. It must be the record that Gao Xiao broke. I didn't expect that he actually did it. The legendary profession is amazing. This is the first time I've seen someone break a record. Everyone was talking about it, their eyes full of envy. Breaking records in wild dungeons not only earns you double the experience points, but also guarantees that rare equipment will be dropped. If you are lucky enough, you may even get a rare title. Titles are non-tradable items, and each one is a priceless treasure. After a while, all professionals within a 10-mile radius around the copy vortex received a system message. Congratulations to Gao Bo, Captain Zhao Hua, Sun Yu, Li Renran, and Wang Tianyu for breaking the Boneyard record instance difficulty, normal level new record, 6 hours, 21 minutes, and 41 seconds. Liu Xingchi glanced at the pop-up light screen and was about to close it when he saw a familiar name. Wang Tianyu. It shouldn't be a duplicate name. Wang Tianyu was about to break through to level 15 3 days ago, so it's not surprising for him to come to the wilderness. I just don't know how he managed to climb into the ranks of legendary professionals. He's really lucky. The copy was glowing with light, and a team of 5 people walked out of the vortex. The person in the lead must be the Captain Gao Bo, who is also the core figure of the entire team. Liu Xingchi used the Eye of Truth to scan the area and discovered that Gao Bo's level had reached an astonishing 18. The lowest level of the remaining teammates had reached level 16. Each of them held his head high and looked very domineering. Many people wanted to come forward and talk to Gao Bo, but were ignored. He is like a proud rooster, revealing his unparalleled arrogance. Gao Bo said nonchalantly, as if no one was around, the normal difficulty level of the burial ground is just like this. It seems we can try the difficult level. Of course. The captain's profession is second to none even among legendary professions. A mere burial ground can't stop you. Wang Tianyu, wearing a baseball cap and with a flattering smile on his face, kept agreeing. Looking at the servile Wang Tianyu, Liu Xingchi seemed to understand why he was able to join the legendary professional team. Gao Bo led the 4 people and walked from the copy vortex towards the end of the team. Even if you are a legendary professional, you have to abide by the rules of the wilderness isolation zone. Otherwise, once it arouses public anger, it will be no joke. When the group passed by Liu Xingchi, Wang Tianyu saw Liu Xingchi standing in line. Wang Tianyu stopped immediately and said sarcastically, "Hey, isn't this Master Liu? This is not a place for loser like you. Where did this stray dog come from? His mouth stinks." Without waiting for Liu Xingchi to speak, Shen Kuo couldn't bear it anymore and scolded. "Who are you calling a dog?" Wang Tianyu was about to explode, but was scared away by a look from Gao Bo next to him. Shen Kuo knew that it was pointless to argue with a lackey, so he looked at Gao Bo who was standing beside him. "Mr. Gao, your Gao family is also a well-known family, how come any random person can join your team? It's just a temporary team." "I'm sorry to make you laugh, Captain Shen." Gao Bo still had no expression on his face. He glanced at the person next to him and said coldly, "Apologize to Captain Shen's friends. It's not that he is afraid of Shen Kuo. As the only son of the Gao family, he doesn't need to care about the mercenary group's attitude. However, it is obviously not a worthwhile thing to offend the greedy wolf mercenary group just for a dispensable tool. Besides, he didn't want to be known as an arrogant person in public." "Yes." Wang Tianyu didn't dare to disobey Gao Bo's order. His face turned red as he walked slowly to Liu Xingchi. "I'm sorry, I was wrong." Liu Xingchi didn't want to pay any attention to him at all. He just waved his hand impatiently, indicating that he could go away. "He's just a clown. There's really no need to get entangled with him." After Wang Tianyu apologized, he returned to the team in shame. He thought that after joining Gao Bo's team, he could roam freely in the wilderness, but the fact was that he thought too much. If Wang Tianyu's professional ability to gather monsters was not good, Gao Bo would never have accepted him into the team. What's more, his abilities are not irreplaceable. With Gao Bo's appeal, it would not be difficult to recruit another Wind Spirit Walker. He would not leave the team in anger just because of a little conflict. If he wanted to be admitted to a better school, what would it matter if he suffered a little grievance? If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel so you are notified of future uploads. You can find the next parts in the playlist visible on the screen or on my channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.